Savior has taught us, so we pray together. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive them that trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. And may the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, and the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit rest and remain with you this day and forevermore. Amen.
This House is in session. Minutes of the meeting held on Tuesday, 10th December 2024 to be confirmed. Honourable Leader, Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that the aforesaid minutes be confirmed.
The questions that the aforementioned minutes be confirmed. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it. Minutes of the meeting held on Tuesday, 7th January 2025 to be deferred. Honourable Leader, Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the aforesaid minutes be deferred.
Questions that the aforementioned minutes be deferred. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it.
Announcements by Your Honour, the Speaker.
I'm in receipt of a message from the Honourable the Senate to the Honourable the House of Assembly. The Honourable the Senate has the honour to inform the Honourable the House of Assembly that at its sitting on Wednesday, 15th January 2025, the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Bill 2025 was amended in the following terms. Clause 2, interpretation. Wherever Social Empowerment Agency Act appears, the word 2024 was deleted and the word 2025 substituted therefore. Clause 13.1. The words the Barbados appearing immediately before the words Disability Rights Tribunal were deleted. And the Honourable the Senate transmits the amended bill to the Honourable the House of Assembly, inviting concurrence in the amendments to the bill. Dated the 15th day of January 2025, signed President. I'm also in receipt.
Messages from Her Excellency, the President.
I'm in receipt of a message from Her Excellency the President to the Honourable the House of Assembly. Her Excellency the President wishes to inform the Honourable the House of Assembly that she will be absent from the country on Friday, 17th January 2025 on vacation leave. Her Excellency further wishes to inform the Honourable the House of Assembly that in accordance with the provisions of Section 33 of the Constitution, the Very Reverend Dr. Jeffrey Douglas Gibson will perform the functions of the Office of President during Her Excellency's absence. Signed, President, State House, Barbados, 15th January 2025.
Petitions, papers, government notices, private members' notices, notices of questions, reports from select committees, first readings of bills, statements by ministers, congratulatory and/or obituary speeches, personal explanations, motions for leave of absence, oral replies to questions, notices of motions for the adjournment of the House on matters of urgent public importance, orders of the day.
Honourable Leader of Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the suspension of Standing Orders 6, 16, 18, 20, 42 subsection 5, 43, and 44 for the remainder of the day's sitting.
The question is that the aforementioned standing orders be suspended for the remainder of the day's sitting. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it. The aforementioned standing orders are hereby suspended for the remainder of the day's sitting.
Government business, sir.
Government business is the order of the day.
Order number 11, in the name of the Honourable Minister of Housing, Lands and Maintenance, to move the passing of a resolution to approve, in accordance with Section 5 of the Crown Lands Vesting and Disposal Act, Cap 225, the vesting in the National Housing Corporation of a parcel of land, the property of the state, situate at Searles in the parish of Christchurch in this island for housing development.
Honourable Member for St. George South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the chamber. Let me begin by wishing everyone a happy new year, and specifically those who have wished before, those closer to me in that wonderful parish of St. George, not just St. George South, a prosperous and happy new year. Mr. Speaker, the matter before the chamber is the vesting of Crown lands, some 18.3 acres of land at Searles in the National Housing Corporation. And Mr. Speaker, this thrust of vesting lands in the National Housing Corporation is keeping with the focus of this government building out the housing infrastructure. And not only building out the housing infrastructure, but building affordable and resilient housing. This 18 acres, Mr. Speaker and members of this chamber, was once land owned by Searles Plantation. This was acquired by the government, the last government, in 2016. And when the last government acquired this land in 2016, they acquired this land with the purpose of building a school. Since then, Mr. Speaker, this government, my government, we have sought to build out the educational infrastructure, not only the infrastructure, but educational reform with a view to allocating schools in various locations. Searles is not one of those locations. So we, as a government, we have seen it fit, therefore, to allocate this land for housing and invest this land in NHC. It's in keeping with the mandate of this government. The consistency is there. I don't need to spend my whole morning discussing this. We know our thrust. 18 acres should give us close to 200 houses. There are different types of buildings. We're looking at single dwelling units, duplexes, quadruplexes, and the hexplexes. Mm-hmm. And then we're also looking to build a lovely commercial center there, as well as a green space for recreation. So, Mr. Speaker, I don't need to elaborate. I'm carrying on from where I left off in December 2024. And indeed, you will see a number of housing developments going on across Barbados. And with those few words, Mr. Speaker, I beg that this resolution to vest 18.3 acres at Searles in the National Housing do now pass.
Honourable Member St. Philip West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of this resolution as the land to be vested is that land at Searles, which is in the wonderful constituency of St. Philip West, where I have the grand opportunity to represent the people there. I am told that it is anticipated that there'll be about 134 lots that will be a part of this particular housing solution, and that the intention is that the houses that will be there will be cost effective, and we trust that this will indeed be so for the majority of the people of Barbados, and certainly those of St. Philip West, that there will be fire, termite, water, and mold resistant. And I think when we talk about solutions, Mr. Speaker, we have to look at what is it we're solving. And I can tell you certainly for the people of St. Philip West, when you talk about termite resistance, that is important for many of our persons, solutions that are termite resistant. Why? Because we have many of the persons there, far too many, sir, and one is too many, far too many, who are in homes where if they get up to go to use the facilities at night, sir, they are afraid that the flooring might cave in under them because of termite damage or damage by other types of situations. Some of the solutions there, sir, must also be resistant to mold, because we recognize that here we have a number of facilities, homes, and other business places as well that are full of mold. And to be able to provide solutions that address some of these very specific and peculiar situations of persons is significant. I think sometimes, Mr. Speaker, we speak of housing solutions as if it is just the building. But, sir, we have to understand that housing solutions contribute to the quality of life and to the dignity of people. When we talk about the quality of life, we recognize that, Mr. Speaker, when persons are living in damp conditions, we know that disease is going to spread far more easily. We know, sir, that when persons are living in overcrowded situations, that it creates its own set of problems with the dynamics within families, and it really and truly threatens family structures. Much of the research out there have shown us that when persons are in adequate and safe housing, that the children who have to learn, remember, they don't only learn in schools, they learn in homes too, that the persons who have to do work sometimes at home, that they're better able, studies are showing us that children tend to learn better, they tend to be more inclined to pursue education. We are told that persons who are in safe and adequate housing tend to be able to be better contributors to the community and want to hold on to jobs better. And so, sir, when we are talking about housing, it is not just about units, it's not just about a place for people to sleep, but it is also a place, sir, that is about quality of life and about people having to live with the kind of dignity that is a right for all of us. And so with those few words, sir, I wish to add my voice of support to this resolution.
Honourable, right there, so.
I'm obliged to you, Your Honor. Must be something of a record that a matter as important as this is introduced in less than 5 minutes. Must be something of a record. And I repeat, it must be something of a record. It must be something of a record. Don't tell me don't shout.
Honourable member, with the greatest respect, there is no need to shout.
I speak like this, sir.
Honourable member, when I speak, you listen. There's no need to shout to get over your points. This is a chamber of civility, and civility is the hallmark of this chamber, and it must permeate through this chamber from all honorable members when they speak. Continue, honorable member.
I'm obliged to you, sir. I repeat, it must be something of a record that a matter relating to the land of this country, the precious land of this country. We don't have a lot of it. And the acquisition of that land and the transfer of the use of that land in a country like this is introduced to this chamber.
Honorable member, please continue. Please continue. Do not be sidetracked or prevented from making your contribution. I rule on those things. Continue, honorable member.
The rules require that when one member is speaking, the other members remain silent. And if during the course of my speech, I hear another member speaking, I will take my seat on the assumption that he intends to make a point of order. And it is probably best and appropriate that he takes the action that he now does. With the 2 interruptions, I repeat, for the sake of the people of this country who must know what is going on in this country, even if they don't know what is going on presently, that a resolution such as this, for the transfer of precious agricultural land in this 166 square miles, is introduced to this chamber and to the people of this country in a presentation lasting less than 5 minutes. And rushing through, I don't know what was the hope. No pun intended. I don't know what was the hope. No pun intended. I'm hearing this voice all the time. I'm hearing a voice. I'm hearing a voice. Your Honor, please invoke the rules of this House that when I am speaking, if there's any protest, let that protest express itself as a point of order. If it is side talk intended to distract me, please control them, Your Honor.
Honorable member, I rule this place.
I'm aware of that.
I run this chamber. No one can tell me how to run this chamber. I run this chamber. I am the person solely entitled and responsible for enforcing standing orders in this honorable chamber. No one else, not even you, not even the Prime Minister, not even the leader of government business. I am the sole authority vested with that authority. Continue.
And it is precisely for that reason, Your Honor, that hearing voices competing with mine, I turn to the Honorable Chair for a ruling that when I am speaking in here, as is my right, I will speak in silence.
Honorable member, I determined that, not you. With the greatest respect to you, I determined that, not you. Honorable member for Christchurch South.
And I'm asking this Honorable Chair to make a determination and a ruling that when I am speaking in here, I will speak in silence. That is why I address the matter to Your Honor. That when any member is on his feet, the other members must, it is not an option, must remain silent. That's the rules. Those are the standing orders. I proceed, sir. In this 166 square miles, a government comes here to announce the transfer of the use of lands that were formerly agricultural lands for housing. I heard that in 2016, it was acquired by a previous government. They didn't think that, I heard. These short speeches don't ambush me. That it was acquired in 2016 by a previous government. If that is said by way of an excuse for what this government is proposing to do to agricultural lands in this country, it is not an excuse that the people of this country are now forced to accept. And if one wants to dwell or deliberate on the reason at the time as being that of building a school, I say to the people of this country that there's far greater honor and nobility in building schools than in building projects.
Honourable for Christchurch West.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to join this debate.
Your Honor, I sat because I was being interrupted again.
The honourable member took his
The
seat.
Honourable member for St. George South interrupted
Speaker,
me.
the
Honourable for Christchurch, so please sit. Honourable for Christchurch, so please sit.
I want, Mr. Speaker, to support the resolution. I am in full support of what the honourable member for St. George South has presented. It is absolutely in keeping with the government's intention to be able to provide housing. Now, I accept that the previous
Honor,
administration
is this a point of order?
has bought
Honourable, please
Is
sit.
this a point of order, sir?
Honourable,
the previous administration acquired this land. And at that time, it was to be for schools. However, as a caring and important government, we recognized that as the Ministry of Education at that time was not going forward to do any...
Honourable member,
Yes.
the
honourable member took a seat, so he obviously...
No,
finished his speech.
honourable member. Honourable member, if...
And you recognize me.
Honourable member, if you raise on your point of order. That is how you raise. You do not raise to give a speech. You can only raise if it's a point of elucidation, etc. You cannot raise in this chamber to deliver a speech. Because you have not addressed the chamber that you were raising on your point of order. You will so have to do.
Interrupted me. Everybody heard him.
No, but he didn't finish. Continue. Honourable for grace yourself.
Three, 6, 8, 11. Your Honor, I was mid-sentence in saying that it can be no excuse by which this government can benefit in telling the people of this country that the land was previously acquired in 2016 by the former government. And I was about to make the point when I was interrupted that there's no greater honor in a country with this country's peculiar history of building a school. And I was about to make the further point that housing in this country is now subject to such questionable practice that the people are entitled to make further inquiry into the nature and the practice of housing developments that are being conducted by this government. And coming up on a year ago, the head of this government promised the people of this country that there would be an investigation into a matter of housing that came in the name of hope. The people of this country have lost hope and confidence that this government will ever pursue any project related to housing unless that project, that Lancaster project, that whole project that cost the taxpayers of this country $60 million, and this government is yet to explain where that money has gone. This government is yet to explain to the people of this country what is the per unit cost of those few houses at Lancaster that were built for the sum, presumably, of $60 million. So that when I say scandal and doubt attaches to government's housing projects, I say that on the basis of the evidence that has been presented here and elsewhere. And I remind this government and you, Mr. Speaker, that an investigation was promised to the people of this country by no less than the Honourable Prime Minister. And at the risk of repeating myself from past occasions, I will remind this chamber and the people of this country that I did not wait on that investigation, but that I referred the matter of Hope Government's housing project to the Public Accounts Committee. We know the history of that. I will speak on it at another time. Housing in this country, under the sponsorship of government, has reached scandalous proportion. The people of this country no longer trust the government in any housing initiative. They have to come, the government has to come and explain to the people of this country what has been the destiny of the Hope Housing Project at Lancaster. And I said it previously and I'm going to say it again.
Continue, Honourable.
Your word, when you opened this place last week, Your Honor, was civility. I heard it again today. I heard it again today, and I intend to abide by what you say. And I want you, sir, to apply that injunction equally in here. That is a demand that I'm making. And I will not be interrupted. It is your ruling, sir. But it is my right. You hear them again? You hear them again? The level playing field, man. Because you walking about this country leveling playing fields. You hear him? You hear him, sir?
Honourable member, please.
You hear him? Yeah.
Honourable member, please
Talk to
allow,
him.
please
Talk
allow
to him.
the honourable member for Christchurch South to speak.
Thank you, sir. This is a signal moment. This is a signal moment, and I want the honourable member is discomfited because he knows what I'm about to say to the people of Barbados, and nobody's going to stop me from saying it.
Honourable member, there is a microphone which is turned on when honourable members speak. There is a microphone.
Mine is on, sir.
No, please let me finish. And there is no need to shout in the microphone to get your point across to the entire Barbadian population. So there's no need. There's no need to shout. There's no need to shout.
I'm obliged to you, sir. I'm obliged to you. The honourable member for St. George South, can continue to be discomfited When I tell the people of this country that this government spent $60 million on Lancaster, and up to today, there are still carpenters down there being paid $3,000 a week to complete the project. I don't have to shout that. It's a shame. It is a scandal. It is a matter of public funds being unaccounted for. It is a matter of taxpayers' money having disappeared. You heard him, sir? You heard him? I lowered my voice and they're still frightened.
Honourable member, you are acquainted that you can exercise and exhibit judicial deafness. You know that term from law that oftentimes you can exhibit judicial deafness. Exhibit judicial deafness.
I have young ears. They're working well. And everything the Honourable Member for St. George South says and the Honourable Member for St. Lucie, everything he says, I hear it. And it interrupts me. But it doesn't stop me. It doesn't stop me from saying that this government has not accounted to the people of Barbados for the expenditure of $60 million. And let the people of Barbados hear that after the expenditure of $60 million 2 years ago, that there are still workmen while I speak at Lancaster trying to get the project finished to save government embarrassment. $3,000 a week. I don't know where it is coming from. I don't know where those additional funds are coming from. So that when the Honourable Member comes here this morning, in record time, never heard such a short speech. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. You heard him again? You heard him again, sir? Lord have mercy. Why what happened? Honourable members, keep quiet. Relax, honourable members. The people of Barbados need to hear. The people of Barbados want to hear the truth. And if they don't hear it in certain places, let them hear it in this place. And I repeat that the Ministry of Housing, having crawled back to the National Housing Corporation, is now paying carpenters and general workmen the amount of $3,000 a week to finish the scandalous Hope housing project at Lancaster. Let the people hear that. And let the people always remember and be reminded that $60 million was spent at Lancaster, presumably. Man, I have never made a speech in which I have had this chorus of resistance. You know, I don't intend to sit down unless you order me so to do, and I'm not in breach of any rule. So whenever they shout, whenever they interrupt me, sir, I will pause. I will pause. You hear them? A chorus of resistance to the truth. The people hearing y'all here? The people are hearing y'all. The people are hearing y'all. You hear the other one? Not you. I press on, sir.
Honourable Member, please don't refer to members in this chamber as another one. Can't.
The honourable members.
That's disrespectful.
No, I was quoting what
But you can't say another one.
He said not you.
Honourable Member, you know better. You know better than that.
I was saying to this honourable chamber that the people are hearing them. And one honorable member shouted across and said, "Not you." I was quoting him. And I do that because I want the people in Barbados, you see, YouTube focuses only on the speaker, but I want the people of Barbados to be aware of the behavior that I am met with in here today, simply because I am telling the truth about government's impropriety in relation to the spending of taxpayers' money. Keep shouting, members. Keep shouting. Keep trying to shout me down. No, I will not still my voice. I have too much to claim. That is a poem written by Martin Carter. It's called Looking at Your Hands. And the last lines, I do not sleep to dream, but dream to change the world. You hear them? You hear them, sir? Man, they're having a ball. They had a ball with the $60 million. And because I'm telling the Barbadian people, here and in the diaspora, that this government has not accounted properly for $60 million, they're trying to shout me down. I will resist. The people of Barbados, I am their representative voice in here, and I say, and I quote Martin Carter, no, I will not still my voice. I have too much to claim. And so if you see me looking at your hands, marching in your ranks, come into your house, you must know I do not sleep to dream, but dream to change this world, this corrupt country, under this government's management. Looking at your hands. That is the name of the poem. Go home and read it. Go home and read it. I've introduced you.
With all due respect,
Go home and read
Mr.
it.
Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I cannot sit here.
Honourable member.
On a point of order, Mr.
Honourable member
Speaker.
for St. George.
The honourable member just referred to this government as a corrupt government, Mr. Speaker. I cannot sit in this chamber, this august chamber. He has no evidence to support such. Make him withdraw that statement, Mr. I am asking, Mr. Speaker, respectfully, that the honourable member for Christchurch South withdraws that comment that this government is a corrupt government. There's no evidence to suggest such. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, there's tremendous evidence to suggest that the party that he leads has placed this government in the mire. I will use the word corruption as a result of bad financial practices. And with those words, Mr. Speaker, I take my seat.
I drank some water. I recommend water for those whose souls and spirits and consciences are now wounded by these allegations. And I am going to repeat, $60 million later, the Ministry of Housing still has carpenters at Lancaster trying to save this government from further embarrassment. And I took this matter to the Public Accounts Committee. And if I'm allowed to say it, I will. That certain persons came to that committee and tried to hinder the work of that committee. When as chairman of the committee, I gave an instruction that we were proposing an investigation into the whole matter. And this government hindered that work. And your Prime Minister, your Honourable Prime Minister, said at the end of the budget debate last year that she too was interested in an investigation. The people heard it, the people know it, the people remember it, the people understand the significance of it. Don't try to shout me down. You had your 2-minute speech. Give me my 102-minute speech. And if you want me to have some mercy, I would reduce the minutes from 102. If you want mercy,
Honourable member, please address the chamber. I'm not the honourable member. Please address the chamber. I'm not the honourable member for St. George South. That is not what it's about. You are to address the chamber. And you're complaining of being sidetracked, but yet you're addressing them. Please, do not be distracted. Continue.
as it pleases your honor. if he wants mercy. He made a 2-minute, the honorable member, I beg your pardon. The honorable member made a record 2-minute speech. And if the honorable member wants me to reduce the time for the sake of consciences, for the sake of saving this government from public exposure, I am willing to do that for him. I don't hear any asides begging for mercy, so I will press on. I will press on. The people of Barbados want to know who really is the agent in these projects. The people of Barbados discovered last year that a company describing itself as not a sexy language, this government is the leading producer of sexy language in this country. A public-private sector partnership. Oh, how beautiful, how sexy, how sweet to the ears. A public-private sector partnership. But you know, sir, when you remove the corporate veil, and they will not interrupt me now because I'm talking law, and I'm talking law to a speaker who is a good lawyer. And when you remove the corporate veil from Hope, you, sir, will discover that Hope is not any private company. You will discover, sir, that Hope, having removed the corporate veil, its actors are persons directly connected to this government. So don't try to fool the people of Barbados that hope that there is some arrangement between the government and some private sector entity. Hope is as government as the central public service, in a practical sense. Don't incorporate companies to fool people that there is some private individual or private individuals out there willing to enter into some partnership with government. That's not so. These are actors directly connected with this government. So in spite of the pleas for mercy, I will continue to expose things. And when I heard the beginning of the speech, the 2-minute speech, 2 minutes, significant, I wouldn't embarrass him any further. But he is now the 2-minute man. He's now the 2-minute man. A speech, and you see the problem is he believes I didn't hear. 18 acres. 18 acres of the patrimony of this country, 18 acres. And all the honorable member can do, sir, is to explain to the people of this country the destiny of 18 acres of agricultural land in 2 minutes. 2 ministerial minutes. 2 parliamentary minutes. But it is ironic because that honorable member has distinguished himself not only as a 2-minute minister, but he, a few years ago, declared to the whole world that he is coming to level playing fields. It is an infamous speech. And I would have thought that they would have saved him the embarrassment of ever having any portfolio that deals with fields, playing, or agricultural. But he, the honorable member, has come here today to level an agricultural field. And I'm going to say this for the benefit of investors in house building. This government wants to come in here and give the impression that their house building program is noble. It is noble. to house people. That is noble. But I want to suggest to the people of this country that these enterprises have less to do with housing people and more to do with enfranchising others, a minority of persons who benefit financially from these projects. This government is not interested in housing anybody. This government is interested in furnishing houses of wealth with larger sums of wealth. And that is what these housing projects are about, with all due respect. Let the truth reveal itself in its naked beauty or ugliness, as the case may be. But it cannot be a beautiful thing when this government tells the people of Barbados that they're building houses for low-income people, and not one low-income person can afford the price of the house when the project finishes. Challenge me on that, honorable members. Name one low-income person, you like objecting, name one low-income person, Your Honor, who has benefited from government's trust in projects of this nature. We like to have honest debate. We like to have honest debate. Honorable member, relax yourself, man. Relax yourself, honorable member. Relax. You did your 2 minutes. Let me do my truthful minutes. And it will be more than 2. And it has been more than 2. I say, sir, that there is a national dishonor in removing lands from agriculture in this environment. Don't tell me about 2016. If you focus on 2016, you have to admit that the government's noble enterprise at that time was to build a school. On this occasion, it is to enfranchise those who are already well enfranchised. And do not tell the people of Barbados that these housing projects are designed for any poor people. They are not. They are not. All kinds of fancy promises are made when these housing projects are being planned. And all the pretty brochures, oh, you will live in this beautiful place and the price will be cheap. And when it is finished, the price is way beyond that, even of the lower middle in this country. Not for any poor people. Stop fooling the poor people in this country. Stop fooling them. Stop fooling them that it has ever been this government's purpose to house them. Never been this government's purpose. I said, and I will repeat for the sake of clarity, that these housing projects have less to do with the noble enterprise of housing the poor and more to do with the ignoble purpose of enfranchising those who are rich. You know, I have some more news for them, sir. They're begging for mercy, but I have more news for them. Because there are really two discussions here today. One is about government's objectives in relation to housing. And the other discussion, and more significant discussion, is the removal of lands from agriculture to place them under concrete. Under concrete means that agriculture is permanently dead. Permanently dead. So don't take me back to 2016, because if you do, I will repeat that there is no greater nobility in the educational enterprise. There is no greater nobility than in the educational enterprise. That is how I should have said it. But let us come to the removal of these lands out of agriculture. The central bank recently reported that agriculture in this country is 3% of GDP. We come here as legislators, and there's a sense in which we come here as educators. And we do not come to articulate terms in their abstract, because sometimes the government likes to do that. Come with a lot of technical terms to impress the public that they're having some lofty discussion and that it is beyond the ordinary fella. All GDP, gross domestic product. That's all it means. And gross domestic product is the aggregate of goods and services in this economy. All goods and services, gross domestic product. You know, sir, I quote one economist who says that it is horrendous that agriculture in this country, by the central bank's admission, is now 3% of gross domestic product. In other words, all the goods and services that exist in this economy, agriculture only amounts to 3% in this country. In this country that is struggling to feed itself. This government has an agriculture minister that a few weeks ago went on his hands and knees begging a producer to take 8 cents off an egg. And you know, that honorable minister may have felt that the people in Barbados were impressed by the fact that he was begging a producer to take 8 cents off an egg. I suspect he wanted to be congratulated for that. But the converse of that was the crisis that existed in agriculture. Such a severe crisis that a minister, an honorable minister, has to go to a producer and beg. I don't know if he was on his hands and knees, but he came out seeking applause. Oh man, I got 8 cents off the egg. That reveals the crisis in agriculture. 3% of gross domestic product, 3% of all the goods and services that exist in this country, where we are trying to feed 300,000 people, and sometimes 320 when tourist season is at its highest, or even more in a given week. They're not all here at the same time. And in this country, so densely populated, we can only tell the world that we have 3% agriculture. And you have a government in that context, in these circumstances, in this environment, they like the word climate, in this climate, finding itself only dedicating 3% of its agriculture to the gross domestic product. That is a crisis. And I don't know if you can find any economist, including the economists in here, who will say that that is not a crisis. The economists in this country and beyond will be unanimous in their view that this country is in the grips of a crisis, and that crisis relates itself to low agricultural output. Has it ever been this low in the history of this country? Have we ever had a crisis in which our staple, the sweet potato, is unavailable? And when it becomes available, it is half the size of the usual size that we know? That the sweet potatoes now look like Eddos? And there's always an excuse. There's always an excuse by this government for the wrong that is happening in this country. I referred previously to government's most often repeated poem. And every crisis in this country became subject to the excuse that we had Hurricane Elsa and the dust storm and 5,000 bolts of lightning. Every speech by every government member, front bench that is, has been over the last 6 years characterized by this grand excuse that every problem in this country is unrelated to government's incompetence and related only to a dust storm and a Hurricane Elsa and 5,000 bolts of lightning. I say the fourth one is hurricane government. Hurricane government. The government's incompetence. And a member got up a few minutes ago to complain that he doesn't want this government to be described as corrupt. An honorable member got up a few minutes ago to complain that he doesn't want the government to be described as corrupt. But I know, sir, that we live in a country where agriculture is in crisis. We live in a country in which this government is doing absolutely nothing to solve the crisis, to resolve the crisis in agriculture. And what this government is doing today is exacerbating the crisis in agriculture by removing further lands in the amounts of 18 acres to put down cement. Where is the Minister of Agriculture today? What can he say in relation to yet another removal of agricultural land permanently out of agricultural produce? 18 acres. 18 acres. Y'all can grumble as much as you want. I'm on my feet. And you can't come across here and push me down. You may shoot me with your words. That's another poem. I think that's the women's anthem, so I probably am not entitled to it. Shoot me with your words. I am, honorable member. I can quote it. Good. You're the poet among them. All poetry is free. That is one of them who he's not like the one from the honorable member from St. Lucie. I heard your eulogy yesterday, by the way. Very good, very revealing. Very revealing, honorable member for St. Thomas. Nevertheless, sir, the people of this country must now be made aware that this government is making no effort to resolve the crisis in agriculture, to resolve a crisis in which 3% of the gross domestic product is agriculture. And beg your pardon, sir?
Honorable, just lower the decibels.
Lower the decibels. You see, I'm trying to talk over them. No, listen to the honorable member for St. Thomas.
Her mic is not on. Honorable member, just lower the decibels.
But I'm trying to speak over the honorable member for St. Thomas. You see, please stop making me shout, honorable member. Please stop interrupting me.
Honorable member for St. Thomas.
The vessels make the most noise.
I think I remember correct yourself.
So that the honorable member for St. Thomas is now telling you that her noises were not words. But they're gone again. I am so happy that the people of Barbados are hearing this. That all your humble servant, the leader of the opposition, is trying to do is to tell the people the truth. That's all I'm trying to do. Let the people hear the truth. Let the people hear that agriculture in this country has fallen to 3% of gross domestic product, and it matters not to me who in here is embarrassed. Whether he's the representative for St. Philip South or any other of the honorable members who are interrupting me. And if the government is in collective embarrassment, so be it. And in their collective embarrassment, I will now tell them what is an acceptable percentage of gross domestic product insofar as it is related to agriculture. Keep quiet and learn. Learn something, honorable members. Learn. I'm going to teach you now. Go quiet. And I'm saying to this government through you, sir, that the dangerous decline of agriculture needs to be arrested, and it ought to return to 5%, at the very least. 5%. Tell them, teach them. Come in here with all these buzzwords every week. Not a speech is made unless they talk about resilient and sustainable and another one.
Honourable for St. James South.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I'm not wanting to cause my honourable colleague to stumble in flight, but I'm concerned that there are young people who listen to what we say in here. And it is important to understand and recognize that when an economy grows, the percentage shares will shift. The question is there enough food for Barbadians? And I believe that what we are seeking to do is to ensure that we're able to overcome the challenges of the climate change that has been affecting agriculture and ensure that there's food for Barbadians. But the percentage share of agriculture will shift based on the economic growth in your other sectors, just so that he's aware that there's no magic number.
Continue, honourable member.
That is not my official response to the point of order, but I could not control that response to the latest point of whatever it was, elucidation, clarification, order, I don't know. Tempted as I am to engage with the honourable member for St. James South on these matters, I will resist that temptation and go back to matters of substance. You hear? Your word is civility. Every sentence I begin, Your Honor, I cannot practice judicial deafness in the face of discourtesy. And as Bajan said, bad manners. You hear them, sir? Well, if you don't hear them, I am hearing them. Please.
I remember, continue, please.
Please control them. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Am I allowed to repeat, sir, that the honourable member for St. Philip South and the esteemed Minister of Agriculture just entered the chamber and shouted that he has come to help me. And by that he means that he is not relying on his colleague, the honourable member for St. James South, that he is the one who would take up this fight. Our bellicose colleague has now come to rescue the debate from government's incompetent hands. He has information. But his colleague, in her most recent intervention, said that climate change is killing agriculture in this country. Not her precise words, but she did say that climate change has the honourable member for St. Philip South in peril, and that he cannot get anything done in agriculture because there's something out there called climate.
Honourable member, please, please. You understand the rules succinctly. You know that even without any voice from this side, that one ought to speak the truth within the confines of this chamber as long as I'm sitting here, and ought not to say things that were not uttered by the honourable member, and even so that honourable member is even not present. Please abide by the rules, and do not wait for members on this side having to jump up. Continue, honourable member.
The honourable member for St. James South uttered the words climate change. And while I'm not quoting that honourable member precisely, the honourable member attributed the decline in agriculture to climate change. That's a matter of record.
Well, with the greatest respect,
Okay.
the honourable
The
honourable leader of opposition is misleading the chamber. The honourable member for St. James South never said there was a decline in agriculture. She pointed out to the member who seemed intent on misleading himself and everybody else who was listening that the ratios are not static. As one increases, then the other will appear to decrease by virtue of the ratio, but not in absolute terms. So if the economy is growing and is taking a larger share of GDP, then necessarily the percentage of all the others must shrink. The honourable member seems intent, sir, in drawing out objections from this side, maybe to bolster the fact that he's actually not saying anything constructive from that side, but he cannot, sir, mislead the chamber.
Once again, please forgive me, sir, for being provoked to laughter. Please forgive me.
Honourable member, continue, please.
It is perhaps a natural human reaction when one hears a good joke. One hears what they think is logic, but one hears the illogic. And I understand the point. The honourable member for Christchurch East now joins the honourable member for St. James South in illogic. And I understand them to be saying to this parliament and to the people of Barbados, who are intelligent, that the larger economy has grown and agriculture, in keeping a pace with that growth, or otherwise, will appear at its percentage level because the rest of the economy has grown. And perhaps I'm going to help them to explain even their logic. And that it appears not to have grown because the rest of the economy has grown, and the growth in agriculture, I'm helping them, the growth in agriculture is perhaps not keeping a pace with the percentage growth in the entire economy, and therefore it appears that there is no growth. I am going to introduce the honourable member for St. James South, joined by her honourable colleague and member for Christchurch East, with a visit that they need to make to the central bank report, in which the central bank report has indicated that agriculture has declined. So don't come in here with these illogical arguments to fool people. Agriculture is in crisis. And the report of the governor of the central bank confirms that. It has disclosed it. I repeat, The central bank report has disclosed that there has been a decline in agriculture, so don't come with any fancy footwork.
With the greatest respect, sir, the honourable member is again misleading this chamber. The honourable member is pointing to a central bank report.
Yes.
Right? And he's using that as the basis for his claim. I have no difficulty with him using that for the basis of his claim. He cannot put words into the mouth of a member who spoke saying that they said something they did not say. And no attempt at explaining around that allows him to mislead the public because it has repercussions for the honourable member. Sir, the bottom line, why we have a privilege in here, why we have a privilege and an immunity from what we say in here, it is not something to be lightly used or abused, and it cannot be used to misquote the words of another member who spoke well on their feet.
Not sure I'm understanding that latest intervention, but I will say in plain and simple language and remain faithful to that plain and simple language of the central bank that agriculture in this country has declined. And if the honourable members are trying to tell the people of Barbados that what appears to be decline is not decline because it is within the context of larger growth in the larger economy, I say again that is illogical, and I point the honourable members to the report of the governor of the central bank, which said report has told this country that agriculture has declined. That is a matter of fact. That is a matter of fact. And I repeat that credible economists will become unanimous in a statement that no percentage of agricultural production within this economy should be at 3%. That it should, in its very lowest, be 5%. But you know, to move from 3 to 5 is difficult. And it is made all the more difficult by this government's inattention to agriculture. We have spent the last year, and not only us, but the economists in this country, in this region, in this world, have spent the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years pleading with this government to diversify this economy. Government has refused. Government has had a singular focus on tourism. And while tourism deserves attention, so also does agriculture deserve attention. And if there's any growth in the tourism sector, that is applauded. But what the people of this country cannot applaud is the decline in agriculture. I say there's a decline in agriculture. Not because I'm the author of the statement, but I am quoting a statement of highest authority when I quote the central bank of this country. And I repeat, the central bank has said that agriculture has declined. And no one can question that. And you don't have to be the author of the central bank report to know that agriculture has declined. Because this very government's very action this morning in taking 18 acres out of potential agriculture stands as evidence of the decline of agriculture. Drive around this country. Drive around this country. You want me to call the names of the locations? I won't. That are being taken out of agriculture on a daily basis, and some of them are not being taken out of agriculture. Some are being taken out of potential agriculture because this government has paid inattention, and I should put that differently. This government has refused to pay adequate attention to agricultural land which is idle. And you know, government refuses to transfer that agricultural land, that idle agricultural land, into active agriculture. And then sends a minister of housing to this place to formalize the transfer of idle lands, idle agricultural lands, historically, into housing, and seeks applause. Applause from whom? For permanently destroying an industry, to the embarrassment of the honourable member for St. Philip South, who now presides over the worst period in agriculture in this country. That the honourable member for St. Philip South has nothing now to point at as success in agriculture. Nothing. Nothing. You want the evidence, Your Honour? Well, let me give the evidence. This government told the people of this country that it was embarking on a marijuana project. This government told the people of this country that it was embarking on a marijuana project. And it committed several acres of agricultural land to a marijuana project. Tell the people of this country how many blades of marijuana you've grown. Tell them. I beg your pardon, sir. I beg your pardon. How many blades of marijuana? I don't know. It comes in blades or leaves. I don't know. I don't know. I don't eat it, drink it, smoke it, nor swallow it. I'm a neophyte. But how many plants of marijuana has this government grown? Having committed acres, having spent over $20 million in an office with a CEO, a secretary, a sleeping chief of security. Well, everybody in there is sleeping because there's nothing to do. I think they have a transistor radio to listen to the calling programs. This government has established an office dealing with medicinal marijuana, saying that it intended to establish a marijuana industry. This government over the last 4 or 5 years has spent millions of dollars, and I am going to give a figure. Let any of them in here get it now. On a point of something. And tell the people of Barbados that this government has not spent at least $20 million on a medicinal marijuana industry that remains non-existent. So when I say that the honourable member for St. Philip South and the Minister of Agriculture has presided over failure, I say that on the basis of the evidence. And you're going to push me further. You're going to push me to disclose to the people of this country what has become of the lands that were originally intended and dedicated to the growth of marijuana. Don't push me. Don't push me. I am about to say it. If I hear one word, I'm going to say it. If I hear one word, I'm going to say it. They're frightened. They're frightened. They're frightened. They're frightened. You know, I actually like some of them. So I don't want to treat them badly. But if I hear them...
But I remember earlier you had complained about intervention. I know you were speaking to them, encourage them to intervene. Continue, I remember.
All of them are not bad, you know. And I'm trying to save the ones I like. We are all Christians. And we don't bring to this job feelings of hatred. We come here with love for God. And 1 John 14:20 reminds us that we cannot claim to love God unless we love our fellow man. And I have found it possible to love some of these people who are my colleagues. Christian love. But it does not stop me from telling Barbadians the truth. And it is out of love for some of them that I will not bring them to further embarrassment and tell Barbadians what has happened to the marijuana project. And tell Barbadians what plans are being made for the lands that were previously dedicated to marijuana production. Honourable Member for St. Philip South wants me to say. Does he want me to say, sir? No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. Christian love, my friend.
Honourable member speak to the chamber and not to
Yes.
the honourable member for
Yes.
St. Philip South.
That is the nature of Christian love. But if he pushes me, because, Your Honor, that there are lands in this country, I'm going to repeat so that the people of Barbados understand. There are lands in this country by design through the medicinal marijuana industry supervised by government, which were designated for the growth of marijuana. Yes, I repeat, there are tracts of land which were originally designated for the growth of marijuana under the medicinal marijuana project. And I'm about to tell the people of Barbados what is the latest on those lands and what are the latest plans.
Mr. Speaker, on a point of order.
Honourable member for St. Philip South.
Mr. Speaker, I regret that I have to rise on a point of order.
What's the point of order, honourable member?
Point of order, sir, is that the Honourable Leader of the Opposition is misleading the chamber by suggesting that there were tracts of land that were identified by this government for planting marijuana. I challenged him to say where those lands are, and he has not done so. So he continues to mislead the South and to mislead the public into believing he has information which he's not sharing.
Honourable member for Christian South, continue, please.
It is because of love in my heart. You hate me for loving. And I know. No, it's not never, not between us. You're in trouble. You're in trouble. And I feel sorry for you.
Honourable member speak to the chamber and not towards honourable members, please.
I'm obliged to you, sir. The honourable member is in trouble. He knows it, and I know it. I can see the look on his face. And he knows, the honourable member knows that he would not have supervised an industry for the growth of marijuana unless he, the honourable member, had identified lands for the growth of marijuana. That is common sense. You don't plan to grow marijuana on Broad Street. When that project was conceived, Your Honour, to the honourable member through you, sir, when that project was conceived, the Ministry of Agriculture designated specific tracts of land for the growth of marijuana. And not only did the ministry do that, they tell him keep quiet. I'm watching you, you know. Not only did the ministry do that, but another ministry entered into negotiations with persons who were intended to become producers of medical marijuana. And specific areas of land were identified. Now, if the honourable member for St. Philip South wants to deny that, I will sit and let him deny it. I will let him deny that no specific tract of land was designated for the growth of marijuana. I'm ready to sit, and I will stand. I will stay on my feet because the honorable member cannot deny that. He cannot deny it. And I am giving him a chance now to deny it.
Mr. Speaker, I rise again on a point of order.
Honourable member for Philip
The
South.
honourable member continues to mislead the chamber. The government and my ministry was never involved in designating land for the growth of marijuana. The government, in fact, is not involved in the growth of marijuana. The government is involved in facilitating licenses for private sector engagement in the industry.
I'm obliged, sir. We are making headway. By this dialectical process of assertion, denial, we are reaching the synthesis of agreement that government had plans, private investors were engaged, and the only thing that is stopping us from reaching the synthesis of agreement is that the honourable member now denies that there are specific lands designated. I am saying that there are specific lands designated. I will go further and help him, the honourable member, that you really can't convince the people of Barbados that government set up an office with a CEO, incidentally fired her and made her a minister, replaced her with a former senator, paid them thousands of dollars a month in the sum of, I will save you some embarrassment. I will not tell the people of Barbados how much taxpayers' money those two CEOs were paid for doing nothing. Why are we sending people down in gullies to break their back? For small amounts of money. Two CEOs who did nothing, absolutely nothing. I'm not going to embarrass them by telling the people of Barbados how much they receive every month for doing nothing. You see, somebody could begin to believe that this government is not an unkind government. Somebody can begin to believe that this is not a government that treats fisher folk unkindly in one ministry, and in the same ministry, it pays two inactive CEOs thousands of dollars a month. And this government came in here last year boasting, oh, we gave the fisher folk $3 million. Tell the people of this country how much this government paid to inactive CEOs of the medicinal marijuana industry. And when I say inactive, they did absolutely nothing except listen to calling programs by a window. And the second one, she's a Facebook expert. And a chief of security. You had a chief of security in a building, and a watchman watching the fields. And then at lunchtime, everybody come and listen to the calling program because there ain't nothing to do. But the honourable member for St. Philip South wants the people of this country to believe that the government advanced a project to the point where it set up a medicinal marijuana office and did not have lands identified for the growth of marijuana. That is what this Minister of Agriculture is now trying to tell Barbadians. Is this government so inept that you set up an office to supervise an industry, a marijuana industry?
Honourable member.
Beg your pardon, sir.
Yeah, your decibels.
Let me move back from the microphone.
Do that. I would appreciate that very much.
When the truth come in, man, it comes
Yep, yes, but
in great volume.
Honourable member, control yourself.
Yes.
Control the passion.
Yes. Yes. Let me back off from this microphone. Beg pardon? Do what?
Honourable members speak to the chamber and not towards members on the other side. I am warning you, do not speak to the chamber,
Yes,
not to...
you see...
You ain't saying nothing, no.
He's calling at me,
It is not what you see. This is the ruling from the chair.
But he's not, yes.
Concern yourself is speaking to the public
Yes,
and
sir.
the chair and not the individual members on that
Yes, sir.
side.
He is not without some personal charm and a sense of humor. When I say, let me back off from the microphone, he told me,
Go out there.
back through the door.
I saw that also.
You know, he's not without some charm. I mean, I give him that. He hasn't come here this morning and told the truth, but he does have a little charm, you know. And I applaud him for it. But his colleague to his right has to convince the people of Barbados that an industry, an office existed in Nubibus. Where are the lawyers? In Nubibus. There's a lawyer next to you, Honourable Member for St. Philip South, and you, sir. This government set up a whole office and paid executives X amount. I'm going to say it later in the year. And now they're close to $20 million and cannot give a fish vendor who feeding them, all of them, them. I don't know if you eat fish, sir.
Are you sure you want to say them and not us? All I remember? You sure you want to say them
I'm dealing with
and
them
not
first.
us, remember?
I'm dealing with them first.
Just for clarity. Continue, our member.
Feeding them fish. And the ingratitude of this government that they can only give the fishing industry $3 million in the aftermath of a disaster, part of which they're responsible for. I'm not backing off from that. It's a legal position I take. $3 million they paid to the victims of a disaster. Part natural, part government. You both say hand right in that confined space, but we move on. $3 million. Ask this government how much they have paid to those persons working in the medicinal marijuana industry who have done nothing for the last 6 years. Absolutely nothing except turn on a transistor radio and guffaw when they hear the calling programs attacking us. And they come in here to tell people that the agriculture industry has not declined. Medicinal marijuana, my friends, is an agricultural industry. And its failure is evidence, in part, of the decline in agriculture. And this is a favorite topic of the Honourable Member for Christchurch East. He thinks it's a joke. He thinks it's a joke that this government was snatching people's sheep in the middle of the night and sending them to Guyana. Not one accounted for. Not one accounted for. A member of parliament from Guyana came here and said that they had never seen one of the sheep dead or eaten. Dead or eaten. This government took up, I don't call names of people who are not in here. This government took up a gentleman and sent him to Guyana to count the sheep. Put him on a liat. They are not without some charm. They are not without some charm. So it is difficult not to love some of them. And I confess that I do. But this government sent a man to Guyana to count sheep. In an age where you have phones and Sir, they laughing, I laughing. What's wrong with you, sir?
You are entertaining them and then complaining to the chair.
But I'm
Then
hearing them, sir.
complaining to the chair all the time.
I'm hearing them.
But you are complaining.
But we are all laughing, sir. That is their invitation to you to laugh too.
What I'm saying, if you don't complain, then you don't complain. So don't complain once and then entertain. And you're with them.
I'm very serious though, sir.
So your complaints will soon fall on deaf ears.
This government owes the people of Barbados an explanation as to where the sheep have gone.
Sir,
Honourable members,
Sir.
Christchurch East.
let me start on what the point of order is.
Yes, please.
This is a serious misrepresentation to everybody who is listening. First of all, sir, allow me to say that I cannot understand what the honourable member's fixation is with these sheep. I thought that the last time we addressed this, he would probably never ever mention the word sheep in this chamber. I would probably defer to some other innocuous term like woolly mammal. Sir, we stood in here at the instance of the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, explained exactly how many sheep went, how many sheep were alive. A whole Minister of Agriculture from Guyana was on CBC, heralding the success of the program, accounting for the sheep. Sir, the Honourable Minister of Agriculture, in a statement in here, detailed every which sheep that went. Obviously, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition is searching for a particular sheep. And sir, maybe if he can just tell us, I gave him the opportunity before, if he can just tell us which particular sheep has attracted his interest, maybe we can find that sheep and bring it back. And then we won't have to deal with this again. But to stand here and say that we purported to ship off sheep to Guyana, the sheep never got there. There's no accounting for the sheep. Where have the sheep gone? Again, here. Sir, that I tried. So I tried. I let him go. I tried. He once again engaged comment from this side, and I said nothing because I didn't want to go there again. But sir, that is not even just a misrepresentation, sir. That is dishonorable of the chamber and against probably everything in here that we stand for, because that was fully ventilated to his great embarrassment. Sir, I ask him to withdraw those, or at least that those comments be struck. We have dealt with this in here. It was provided from the floor. It is public. The Minister of Agriculture in Ghana has addressed it. Sir, that now is contemptuous behavior in this chamber.
Yes. The Honourable Minister of Agriculture in Guyana has no status nor standing in this chamber, nor even in this country.
Sir, with respect, sir, he once again for the misrepresentation. It is not that he has no status in here. He can't come here and stand up in here to defend himself, so we have to do it on his behalf. The honourable member said that the Minister of Agriculture in Guyana cannot account for the sheep. He made representations, sir, that would impugn the character of the Honourable Minister of Guyana based on what he said on our national television. He cannot now default, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition cannot now default to say we can't address comments from the Honourable Minister from Guyana because he has no standing here. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition is the person who invoked it. He brought it up. He attributed his statements. He cast a whole program into disrepute and is now saying that we can't speak on behalf of somebody who he has effectively defamed in this chamber.
Honourable member, your point of order is noted.
I'm obliged to you, sir. All the honourable member has to do is to tell the people of Barbados, including the victims who were sheep farmers. I didn't say victims of theft, but victims of deprivation of their stock. All the honourable member has to do is to tell the people of this.
Sir, I do not know why he is persistent. You actually ruled just now saying words like deprivation, not theft, but deprivation of their stock. Those sheep were purchased pursuant to a program. Every farmer who supplied the sheep was paid in full for the sheep. It was a transaction to the benefit of the farmers. Sir, anybody who, at some point in time, we have to protect the integrity of this house, sir. Anybody who is listening now must wonder exactly what is going on in that house. I do not understand the honourable member's preoccupation with sheep. Be preoccupied with constituents. Be preoccupied with Barbados, left out the sheep.
Point noted, Honourable member for questions. Honourable member, perhaps you can slant your discourse in relation to the resolution that was brought by the Honourable member for St. George. So.
And the subject, Your Honour, is that of agriculture.
Yeah.
And the population of sheep relates itself directly to the question of agriculture. And all we are asking, yes, I'm pausing for the interruptions again.
You're, Honourable member, you're actually pausing now? You're actually pausing now, Honourable, having engaged them continuously, all of a sudden you are pausing.
All right.
Continue, Honourable member.
I'm in the arena, sir. I'm in the arena. All I would like the honourable members, any of them, or all of them, to do, on the subject of agriculture, tell the people of this country what that sheep sale, he insisted it wasn't theft of sheep. Tell the people of Barbados why they took up the black belly, and it is no joke. Why this government took up the black belly sheep and sent them to Guyana. You know, this country has not had an explanation as yet what that program is about. This country, I don't mind the interruptions, even by way of point of order. But the people of Barbados don't know why the sheep were sent to Guyana. And this is the opportunity for the Minister of Agriculture, not the member for Christchurch East who knows nothing about what he's speaking. This is an opportunity for the Minister of Agriculture in a debate about agriculture to tell the people of Barbados why the sheep were grabbed and sent to Guyana.
But Honourable member, I think a resolution that was led off dealt with housing and land acquisition.
Yes.
Hold on. Not agriculture.
Indeed.
Notwithstanding that agriculture might end up being a component, but I believe that a resolution that was brought here this morning dealt with land acquisition.
Yes.
Continue, Honourable member.
And I am obliged to you, sir. And I see. And we are making the point that it is wrong at a time like this to commit agricultural lands to housing. And so, Your Honor, I reserve the right to comment both on housing and on agriculture. And I am saying that this government has manhandled, mishandled agriculture. And evidence of that is contained in this resolution today, that we have good agricultural lands in Searles. Good agricultural lands in Searles that are, by this resolution today, intended to permanently deprive agriculture of those lands. And in addition to that, we are saying that the black belly sheep population is not a joke. The black belly sheep population is a part of our agriculture and an important part of our agriculture. And being so important, this government has failed and neglected to tell the people of Barbados what that project is about. We don't have to hear from any Minister of Agriculture in Guyana. He doesn't have any standing here. We don't have to wait to hear our CBC. The Minister of Agriculture is in here. Let him get to his feet now and tell the people of Barbados what the black belly sheep. Cool down. Cool down. Cool down. Cool down. I smile here, you know. My smile. You very high strung. So when you get up intending to tell the truth, in spite of the gentleman to your left, who's trying to bail you out, tell the people of Barbados how many sheep you saved, how many living, who eat them, how many died from rotten hooves, what did the gentleman, whose name I shall not call, who was sent to Guyana to count them, and came back and did not report to this government. And if he reported to this government has not reported to the people of Barbados what happened to the sheep. The people in Barbados were told that close to 1,000 sheep were sent to Guyana, and they do not to this day know how many are alive. They do not know if in the watery grounds of Guyana, the hooves of the sheep rotted and caused their deaths. And those sheep would have been alive and well in Barbados. We are not running out of space to accommodate the sheep. Yes, console him. Console him. You're meeting, sir. You're meeting some very agitated government benches. And I will not move from what I'm saying, that this government is destroying agriculture in this country. And all these interruptions began when the other side got up to say, led off by the Honourable Member for St. James South, supported by the Honourable Member for Christchurch East, that agriculture has not contracted because the larger economy has grown, and therefore the growth in agriculture has been concealed or disguised by that larger growth. And I told them that the governor of the central bank said differently. He said that agriculture had declined. And I told them what the economists, the credible economists in this country are saying, that as a percentage of gross domestic product, a credible agriculture industry must be no less than 5%. That is the argument. And I'm saying that this government is doing injury to the agricultural sector in this country by its various indiscretions. And I'm saying the export of our black-belly sheep to Guyana is a part of that mismanagement, a part of that malmanagement that has resulted in the decline of agriculture. Agriculture is not only about plants, agriculture is also about animals. And it stands to reason, honourable members, through you, Your Honour, that if you take up a substantial portion of the sheep population, that, my friends, constitutes decline. So that the decline is not only in relation to produce, fruits and vegetables, and ground provisions, the removal of sheep from this country.
I remember you've looked at the resolution, you've read the resolution.
And the resolution takes...
It speaks to vesting.
Vesting, yes, vesting.
I just want to be certain that you have read the resolution.
Vesting former agricultural lands for the purpose of housing.
Yes.
Permit me, Your Honour,
Understood.
in your liberal dispensation to deal with both housing and agriculture. You are a liberal speaker, you are a fair speaker. And your legacy will be that you were a good speaker. And being a fair, liberal, and good speaker, you will allow me to debate all aspects of this resolution. And I began by speaking of the vesting of lands for housing. And I spoke of the immorality of housing that is less concerned with housing poor people and more concerned with further enfranchising those who have much. I spoke of the immorality of that. And I spoke of the wrong in having planned a medicinal marijuana industry, having spent $20 million on staff. The staff has not perspired in 6 years. The staff of the medicinal marijuana office have not perspired in 6 years while in that office. They may have drooled from sleeping, but they've done nothing. And they've received over $20 million. And the fisher folk can't get more than 3. And the fish vendors have been promised $1,500 for 1 month. You think I'm leaving it? I'm not leaving it. You may not like the fish vendors. You may think that they're beneath you. You may well think so. But if government made a promise to the boat owners to pay them $1,500 a month for 6 months, wow, that's no big figure. And if government made a promise to the fishermen to pay them $1,500 for 6 months, further to our agitations, they increased it. Why can't they pay the fish vendors? We're on the subject of agriculture, sir. More than the single payment of $1,500. You know what it is? Divide and rule. The government is more interested in fracturing the solidarity that exists among the fisher folk than it is in bringing justice to their lives. And this scheme, you know, the thing about me, I can laugh, you know. And that's a good joke, by the way. Excellent joke. Excellent joke. But you're not coming back. I'm coming back. It is a good joke, though. Government, in its decision to pay the fisher folk, some of them, the boat owners and the fishermen, 6 months, I think, they say.
A point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable for St. Joseph.
I think the honourable member is, I suppose he wants to range far and wide, but I think I must take exception to his now getting into an area that, unless he is somehow suggesting that the vesting of land has some connection to the fishing industry, and I'm from St. George, so I would know that it doesn't. The honourable member really must stick to the subject matter of the debate.
Honourable member, I have raised that with, I'm not interrupting you. Honourable member, I'm not interrupting you. But I've also raised that with the honourable member for Christchurch South on more than one occasion. For him to strike a relevance between the vesting of land and the line that he's going down. And unless and until it might reach a stage where I might have to make a ruling in relation to his continuation on that plant or move on.
Well, and I'm only suggesting, Mr. Speaker, that the member should perhaps take note of these standing orders. You, of course, have the discretion to prohibit him from continuing this debate.
I am very
But
much aware.
I have to say he is in breach of the standing orders, which require that the debate be relevant to the matter.
I have raised that with, honourable member, I have raised that with him before. I am trying to be as lenient as I can in these circumstances, right? So that if there's a continuation, then I might have to become more aggressive in relation to what he's speaking about.
I'm in your hands, Mr. Speaker.
Your Honor, I shall not take advantage of your liberal dispensation. And I am aware that there is a promised debate in here later today on maritime matters. And I will abide with you, sir, that I may well reserve that part of my debate for that matter when it comes. So I shan't take advantage of your generosity. I did describe you as fair, liberal, and good in that chair. And that continues to be my view. So let not me be heard to take advantage of you, nor even the learned Attorney General to take advantage of you. Let us be fair to you, sir. And you are not ordering it, but in gentle language, you are encouraging us along a certain path. Let us be equally magnanimous and courteous and gentle with you, sir. Let us press on, sir, in spite of the anger from across the aisle. Let us assuage their anger with debate that is linear.
You're choosing a very good word. Linear.
Linear, yes.
Not circuitous. Not circular, but linear.
Not circular.
Right.
So that let us leave the fisher folk for later in the day when I intend to chastise them. I'm going to chastise them. I'm going to flog them. And let us come back to the misuse of agricultural land in this country. Let us come back to how Hope has abused housing in this country. Let us come back to how government took $60 million and put into a project that failed. And that, they should have kept me on the fisher folk because they don't want to hear this. Let us come back to how Let us come back to how this government Let us come back to how this government has snatched, not sheep, but snatched $60 million from the taxpayers and built an unfinished housing project. Let us come back to how this government is now hiding behind the NHC and giving the real work to Hope, because Hope is a scandal, and I charge this government here, with continuing to fund Hope. I charge this government with a continuation of a contractual relationship with a company which is mired in public scandal. And that this government is hiding behind NHC, which it had abandoned and is now in shame and embarrassment crawling back to the NHC. But they're crawling back to the NHC superficially. But I charge this government with continuing its dealings, its improprietous, I say, dealings with the disgraced company. Hope is not dead. And by that I mean capital H is not dead. The hope that people had in this government to do projects which were in the interests of this country, those hopes are dead. And Hope, capital H, ought to be dead. And Hope, capital H, ought to have been subject to the investigation that the Prime Minister wanted. But rather than do an investigation, it is a continuation of business at the expense of the taxpayers of this country. At the expense of the taxpayers of this country. This is what these land acquisitions are about. Committing millions of dollars, taxpayers' dollars, and telling the people of this country that you are building for poor people. That is not true. You're not building for any poor people. You're building large bank accounts for a few people. This has less to do with housing people and more to do with enfranchising a few. And Lancaster stands as an example, because Lancaster has been sold at a loss to government. $60 million, it has been sold. Those houses have been sold at a loss to government. Government, by the sale of those houses at market value, can never recover that $60 million, wherever it is. You know, sir, the people of Barbados want to know where the $60 million is. The people of Barbados don't have to be building contractors to know that $60 million, that it did not take $60 million to build Lancaster. Why did you look at her, sir? And so, sir, our position must be that we oppose this government's incursion into the agricultural lands of this country. We oppose government's immoral and imprudent incursions into the agricultural lands of this country, purportedly to house Barbadians, when in fact it is about business. When in fact it is about unholy business. When in fact it is about enfranchising a few. And at the end of that enfranchisement, because government is paying the bill, if those houses are to be sold at a profit, the average man in Barbados cannot afford one of those houses. And you know what is happening, sir? Housing in this country, the housing trust, is more about placing government supporters within certain constituencies of Barbados. This government is not choosing the areas based on the quality of the land, because you would expect that government would try to identify all the areas of RAB land. This government is trying to identify the areas of political land. This government has a plan and is actively in pursuit of that plan to carve out certain areas of land across Barbados, across certain constituencies, to put people in houses at below cost, below financial cost, but at great political benefit to this government. In other words, government is using housing to augment the electoralists in certain districts across Barbados. If you put a man in a house.
Mr. Speaker, I
really
have to get up on a point of order. The honourable member is clearly impugning the government and misleading the Honourable House. I ask that he absolutely withdraw that statement.
I expect the honourable member would say why I should withdraw it. I am expressing an opinion. Why? Have I said that somebody stole something? I have accused the government, Your Honour, through you to the honourable member. I have accused the government of using housing logistically and strategically to build houses in certain locations for its own political benefit. That's an opinion to which I'm entitled, based on the evidence. And in so doing, in pursuing political objectives, the government is destroying the agricultural land in this country. That the government is less concerned about agriculture and more concerned about political advantage, honourable member, through you, sir. That is what I'm saying. And I don't have to do a PhD to realize that. It is there. It is obvious. And anybody who feels guilty, well, I'm sorry. Your conscience is yours. My right to speak is mine. And I am saying that anybody can see that these housing projects are so disparately located across Barbados that one must now accuse the government of having a political objective. And if you want the crude term, using housing projects to pad the electoral list in certain constituencies.
Mr. Speaker,
Honourable for Christchurch West.
the honourable member has again repeated the same charge with no evidence whatsoever and continues to impugn the government. I again ask the honourable member that those remarks be withdrawn and be struck from the record.
I will provide the evidence, sir. I'll provide the evidence. I didn't want to do this because it would only send them now to... No, say it through the mic. Don't quiet him. Let him say it through the mic, Attorney General. I did not think at the beginning of the year, I did not think I would meet some who are here for the first time this year. But let me press on. They took up an agricultural station in St. James. They took up an agricultural station in St. James, in an area that is traditionally
Honourable, continue, please.
I just wish he would say these things through the microphone so that the people could hear what he is confessing. I will attempt to repeat for the third time the full sentence, that this government picked up an agricultural station, as they are picking up an agricultural piece of land today, in St. James, on the belief that coastal St. James, stretching from Walmer Lodge, indeed, coastal St. James and St. Peter, on the belief that the west coast of this country, and I'm going to use plain language now, they believe that the west coast of this country never votes to their advantage. They believe that. They may be afraid that Searles, like the rest of that general political area, is leaving them. So dump some people up there, house them at below cost of the project. That's why I say it is not a financial project, it is a political project. And like Lancaster, the people are moving into houses at below cost. Because if a Lancaster house costs $300,000, the Lancaster house costs far more than $300,000 to build. And as I said earlier, the fact that they're paying carpenters now $3,000 a week to finish the bad work would indicate that the cost is even higher, and would support my contention that these are political projects. Who knows where Searles is located on the political map? Is it Christchurch East? Is it St. Philip West? Where is it within the constituency plan of Barbados that this government will benefit? Where? I heard a vote. Beg your pardon.
Mr. Speaker,
Honourable members, my kids, Sophie's.
I rise on a point of order. The honourable member is misleading this place. I appreciate that the honourable member has perhaps never requested any housing in his tenure in political life on behalf of the constituents that he represents. And I understand that he would not understand the pain and the suffering that people have who have been waiting on waiting lists for several years to receive an upgrade in their housing accommodation. I understand that he is so far removed from the realities of ordinary people that he would have to come to this place on a debate that is here to ground for the people of this country an opportunity to be able to improve their lot in life. And he would try to create a stir in the country with misinformation that in some way that we are going about the allocation of housing in this country on the basis of trying to enhance our political numbers. But in case he did not know, we already had 30 seats on 2 occasions. There's no more enhancing for this government to do. What we are doing now is trying to level the playing field because of the way in which the previous administration and the one that he now leads placed the people of this country in who wanted to get, whether it was low-income housing or middle-class housing or any housing in this country. This is not a debate of agricultural lands being taken up. All lands in Barbados were agricultural, Mr. Speaker, in case the honourable member did not know this. But if he is concerned about numbers in his constituency, or if he is concerned about numbers in his party, I want to assure you, Mr. Speaker, and assure the public that is listening, that this administration is in no way trying to augment any electoral lists. Come into St. Michael's Southeast, Mr. Speaker. Tell the honourable member, come. And tell the people of Golden Rock, in the Pine, in the most densely populated area of my constituency, that the project that the honourable minister and this administration is carving out for poor people in this country, acquiring through an arrangement with a private landowner to be able to develop lands in the Lower Burney area for ordinary people to own a piece of the rock, is as a result of some political augmentation? Mr. Speaker, sir, this honourable member is out of place, and I will not sit here to allow him to speak in this way towards this administration. We work every day to make sure that we right the wrongs of the last administration and to make sure that this party is able to deliver to ordinary people. But I will not allow him to mar the character of this administration. We may not always get it right, sir, but the one thing that this party is firm on is enhancing the lives of people. And the 60 million he talks about for hope, there are people in the houses. The project was always intended to make sure that you start with the people who had a ready income that could pay the public officers that he's going to want them to vote for him in another election, sir. The ordinary teachers in this country, the doctors, sir, those were the people that we started with, so that as you take up, you're not taking up money to be able to have to pay for something that you're not getting back, you know. This is the point. You have to make sure that we are able to provide housing for all levels of people. So if you don't have money coming in, Mr. Speaker, you're not able to ensure that you cater for the people who are most vulnerable. And I therefore, Mr. Speaker, beg that his comments regarding the impunity of this administration be struck from the record, not just that it is noted that he is misleading this chamber, but it is a serious allegation to make that we are in any way trying to interfere with how people vote in this country. People will vote on the basis of the record of this administration. And I assure you, Mr. Speaker, and I assure the honourable member for Christchurch South, that when the record is shown, the Barbados Labour Party's record is going to be sound as it relates to putting people in housing. I'm obliged.
I described you, Mr. Speaker, as magnanimous and liberal in your dispensation. And I did not urge you to curtail the last speech. That's not a point of order, that's a speech.
But honourable member, I am the sole person.
Yes.
Honourable member,
Yes.
I am the sole person vested with that authority to make that pronouncement.
But with 7 members of the government.
But you are not vested with that authority, sir.
Indeed. No, I'm praising you.
But I just, honourable member,
I'm praising you.
Honourable member, I really do not, honourable member, being frank, I do not need the praise. I just want to make it clear to you that I am the person who rules in this chamber on everything.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I will continue to praise you for being so liberal as to allow long speeches to be made under the guise of points of order. And the public notes that during my speech this morning, 7 honourable government ministers have risen to their feet to object. I don't know if there's a season upon us, only 3 years into this government's term, but I feel that there's some season that is upon us, and the government is afraid, and we've had 7 ministers, six ministers and a backbencher quarreling with the content of my speech. Well, let them continue to quarrel. The people of Barbados are hearing the truth, and I will come back to the truth, sir. And it is noteworthy that I was interrupted when I was telling the people of Barbados, through you, sir, that land acquisition and land use is related to political advantage. And I'm staying with that point, that the government is prepared to destroy agriculture in this country for the sake of partisan political advantage. In other words, place your grateful party supporters into various constituencies to bolster support in the areas that are traditionally weak. And I was asking you, sir, to consider that Searles is a part of that strategic device to strengthen government's hand politically in an area where it may find that it is traditionally weak. And whereas by the honourable member for St. George South, I beg your pardon, by his admission, that the past government was looking at a school. Yes, the past government was looking at a school, but this present government believes that it is more politically advantageous to put its supporters in that locale, in plain language, to vote for the government. That is what the Housing Trust is about, Your Honor. Through you, sir, to the honourable member. You didn't know that's what it is about? They didn't tell you? They sent you. They sent you, yes. They said... Well, you did boast. He did boast that he had higher numbers than the Prime Minister.
I remember you're speaking to the chair in relation to a debate. You're not speaking to the member for St. George South. You're speaking to the public through me in relation to the vesting of your parcel of land.
Yes.
Continue, honourable member.
But he is crossing me to say that he had more votes than me, you, or the Prime Minister.
Honourable member, do not misquote members in this chamber. Do not.
I'm saying what he told me in another place.
But it is not relevant here, is what he has said here.
That's a boast he often makes. Man, I got the most votes in here, more even than the Prime Minister. And he thinks that is some feather in his cap. But you got said. So that, Your Honor, let it be understood that a lot of these lands should remain in agriculture. That agriculture is not separate and apart from tourism, that both must be protected, and that there is a connection, a direct connection between agriculture and tourism insofar as agricultural produce can be sold into the tourism sector. And those of us who visit the other islands and go to the hotels in the other islands, and this is a well-traveled government, not at their own expense, but at the people's expense, that if you go to Jamaica, when you're receiving breakfast at the hotel, local produce. When you're in Guyana and you're at the hotel, local produce. This government is so decimating agriculture and disadvantaging tourism that it is difficult for the tourists to receive a local meal. And that is how this government, in hurting agriculture, is also hurting tourism and increasing our foreign exchange I beg your pardon, and decreasing our foreign exchange reserve by having to spend money on food. The point is, Your Honor, this country is spending too much money on imported food. While this government rampages across the country, destroying agriculture. The Honourable Member for St. George South, who was sent here, wants to hear me say it again, that this country is falling into financial peril by having to spend too much foreign exchange on food, while that honourable member rampages across the country destroying agriculture. To put up cement, and cement is permanent. And agriculture can also be permanent. And agriculture must be tied to tourism, to literally feed tourism. But this policy, this is nothing to boast about. To come here this morning and say you're putting it in housing, 18 acres. You know the damage that is being done to this country? He knows the damage, the honourable member knows the damage that is being done to this country when every week, just before Christmas, this government came in here and acquired land right next to the tourist belt. Bullins Agricultural Station, this government took up an agricultural station where young people could have been placed there. I saw it. I drove down there and saw it. And the soil is rich. And you know why the soil is rich? Because it is right beneath an escarpment. And it is a place where soil would naturally settle. And when I went and saw the houses and saw the excavation, there was much mold, dirt at Bullins because it was an agricultural station. And the young people of this country should have been enfranchised. That land ought to have been cut up into small plots and given to the young people who are begging this government for agricultural land. Instead, this government is fortifying itself politically by making unwise investments into housing to house its supporters for political advantage. If that makes anybody uncomfortable, if that disturbs the government, I am not here to comfort a disturbed government. I am merely here, beg your pardon, sir? Tell me.
Honourable Member for Christ yourself, speak to the chair.
Are you talking to me?
Honourable members, you speak
Let me
to
address
the
you,
chair.
Sir. Let him speak to you,
not
then, sir.
to members on the other side. And that's a ruling from the chair.
He's talking to me.
He cannot, no, he has to speak to me.
Shut him down, sir.
Honourable member, speak to this chair.
Shut him down, sir. Shut him down. Shut down, honourable member. Let the speaker run in here. And I'm making the point that Bullins Agricultural Station was the perfect location to accommodate young farmers, give them economies of scale, plots that could have been divided up so that they could manage them according to their resources, and that they could have grown produce, whether it's tomatoes, and supply the West Coast hotels. Their transportation costs would have been low. Their transportation costs would have been low. You heard the name they're calling, sir? You know, I told you earlier that these people have very great wits. Their sense of humor is really good. They don't know how to run the government, But when they crack a joke, it is well made. And I find it charming. What the people of Barbados do not find charming, though, is this government's mismanagement of this economy. And I am saying again that they ought to put some young people down in Bullings Agricultural Station under an escarpment where the soil is deep and where they could have had economies of scale to sell the food right next door, literally next door, down the hill. But this government in its wisdom takes up an agricultural station right next to a hotel or a complement of hotels, a corridor of hotels, puts it into, I almost say cheap housing, puts it into housing.
Mr. Speaker, on a point of order, the honourable member is breaching his standing orders by being guilty of tedious repetition. Tedious repetition. And Mr. Speaker, I beg you, save us from him. Save us from him. That speech is not anything anybody should be repeating.
Point notice. Point.
You're the 2-minute man.
Point notice.
And so, Your Honor, every time I try to wrap up, points of order. Every time I try to wrap up. Yes. So I was saying to you that the honourable member for St. George South is typically sent here by what people want.
Honourable member, this is the last time I will warn you not to speak across this honourable chamber to members on the other side, but to speak to the chair.
Have you ever seen a parliamentarian go mad, sir? Well, I would like the cameras to focus on the honourable member for St. George South so that the people can see how a parliamentarian goes mad. And he's right next to a doctor. Please
Honourable member, please, honourable member, please confine your speech to the basis of the resolution that was brought here this morning by the honourable member for St. George South. Please. The rules dictate such. The rules dictate such, honourable member.
Sent as he was, the two-minute minister, the 2-minute minister who is now infamous for leveling playing fields, came here this morning to deprive agriculture, not even embarrassed to be sitting 6 feet away from the Honourable Minister of Agriculture, who is desperate to defend his reputation as a Minister of Agriculture, who is now told by the Governor of the Central Bank that he is presiding over the worst period in agriculture in this country. He's now told that.
Honourable member, you would have said that.
Yes.
On numerous occasions.
Yes, I'm wrapping up, sir. I'm wrapping up. This is to summarize while wrapping up. Please ask them to stop interrupting me. And we, therefore, stand in opposition to this continued destruction of agriculture. The people of Barbados can now understand the trajectory on which this government is taking us. When you place agricultural lands under cement, they are gone forever. And Searles now adds to the list, the 18 acres list by today's resolution of lands that are permanently out of the reach of the farmers in this country. Searles adds to the list. And Your Honor, they're coming with more. This government is waging war on agriculture under the guise of providing housing for poor people. This government is waging war. I think, sir, they have been very active in their rebellion against the truth. And I detect hunger and thirst among them. I will spare them and let them go and eat. Your Honor, man, they're quarreling bad enough with each other now.
Honourable,
yes. No, let them quarrel. Let them quarrel. I like when they quarrel with each other. Your Honor, we stand in opposition to today's resolution on the basis we stand in opposition to this resolution on the basis that it further destroys agriculture in this country, and that it is intended to do nothing for housing. It is intended to do credit to the political fortunes of the government. It will fail because the people in this country want agriculture. There are too many of our young people who are fleeing this country who will not get a chance to work here because of this government's policies. There's nothing infra-dig about agriculture. Why is this government destroying agriculture? Why? Why is this government embarrassing the Minister of Agriculture? Why is this government making life so hard for the honourable member for St. Philip South? Why can't he be allowed to go back to his constituency, I beg your pardon, and have them say to him, well done, thou good and faithful servant? They cannot say it because he has presided over the decline of an industry, and the central bank governor supports that. And that is the basis, Your Honor. That is the general basis for our objection to what this government is doing against agriculture in this country, Your Honor. Those are my submissions, and I'm obliged to you. Thank you, sir.
Honourable Member for St. Philip South.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in full support of this resolution before this chamber. A resolution that speaks to land that was taken out in 2016 by the Democratic Labour Party administration, of which the Honourable Member for Christchurch South foisted himself upon as a leader. And Mr. Speaker, I speak with gratitude to the people of St. Philip South, who have given me the opportunity to lend voice in this chamber to what has now become nothing short of an abuse of parliamentary privilege and, Mr. Speaker, nothing short of lack of respect even in the members' gallery, where the young people who look to us for leadership stand to hear blatant lies, Mr. Speaker, delivering in this posture of a pseudologia fantastica who wants only to score political points. I didn't say you are, I said the posture of. Who wants only to score political points, not recognizing that the people of Barbados are looking for leadership. The people of Barbados are looking to see what their options are and who best suits to run this country, sir. And if I were to go back to last week's sitting of this Parliament, Mr. Speaker, and I come to this place, sir, with a level of integrity that I feel should not be traded just because one does not prepare. And Mr. Speaker, you cannot tell me that you come to this honorable chamber, you ain't prepared, but you want to point fingers and make loose statements. Only last week, the honorable member for Christchurch South, and I allow him to be the member for Christchurch South, you know, because I was supposed to contest that nomination. I was. When you called me and said, Indar, man, stay home, I allow him. So that, Mr. Speaker, sir, I am deeply disappointed in the level of debate that the honorable member brings to this chamber, because I know he can do better. I know. Well, Mr. Speaker, last week he said not a single black belly sheep is in this country. And he continues with this fetish for black belly sheep, as if Dolly gone to Guyana with all the rest. And I reminded him that his brother has the most black belly sheep, so he's being disingenuous and dishonorable to suggest there's not a single black belly sheep in this country. The member can do better, Mr. Speaker, sir. But the public is listening. And Mr. Speaker, I went on Facebook. I followed some of the comments under his comments, under the honorable member's comments. And there's a gentleman, Mr. Speaker, I'm not going to call his name, but he has a pseudonym, Anti-America. Refers to the honorable leader of the opposition as a circus, whatever, parades at a circus. And wish that he would come and bring a difference to this honorable chamber, sir. And I too wish that he would bring a difference. But you can't come loosely, sir, and say not a single black belly sheep is in Barbados, and your brother got 5,000. What are you saying to the country?
Honourable member, question yourself.
Yes.
Point of order?
Yes, yes.
I'm
Point
listening.
of order, sir. He is misleading the chamber. The honourable member is misleading the chamber. I don't believe that I ever said that not a single black belly sheep is in Barbados. And I would like him to correct that. Nobody in this country has ever said that we don't have any sheep. You can walk up the road now and see.
So the honourable member speak to your point.
Oh, yes. So I just want him to correct himself that I have never said that there are no black belly sheep in Barbados. Please do it. Please do it.
Honourable member, self-continue, please.
Mr. Speaker, I'm getting some progress because I got the honorable member of the opposition to reverse himself on what he said last Tuesday. And if that is your way of apologizing, I accept it, sir. But let me tell you, Mr. Speaker, we can't continue like this. The honorable member speaks about agriculture in a tone as if to suggest he knows what goes on in agriculture. And then he aligns agriculture with working land and young people. It's the biggest mismatch you could ever come across. The average age of a farmer in Barbados probably is around 60. Young people are not gravitating to working land. Young people are gravitating to technology. And that is the reason why I said that we are now moving towards the use of technology. Netherlands ain't got good arable land like Barbados, but they feed the world. And they feed the world through technology-driven agriculture. That's what they're doing. We are in a climate crisis. And wherever I go, Mr. Speaker, to attend conferences on how we will build out agriculture and how the world must attain food security, the rest of the world is moving towards technology. So that if you come to this chamber to criticize agriculture, talking about decline in agriculture, that this is the worst it has ever been, sir. But you don't cite the numbers. You do not bring the numbers because you haven't prepared. And so every time we come to this chamber, you must filibuster around everything without producing facts, without producing information that the country can say, we have an option. Nothing of the sort, you know. Wild and loose accusations for the public to consume. And yes, there will be those who will fall for it because they're cut from the same cloth. But there are others who want reasoning, dispassionate reasoning, facts. Tell me why I should support you. That's what the discerning public is looking for, sir. And so you will pomposette and boast about land that the Honourable Minister of Housing, the Honourable Member for St. George South, is only utilizing after it had change of use in 2016. How can I fault him? It was the Democratic Labour Party administration that gave the change of use. Well, sir, you think that is the worst? He's carrying on about 18 acres of land as if Barbados will now come to an end. And do you know there's a project at Coverley under the Minister of Housing in the Democratic Labour Party that took up 100 acres of agricultural land for 99 years at $1? The last DLP administration. 100 acres, and the honourable member keeping noise about 18 acres of land that they already gave changes use for. 100 acres of land for 99 years at $1. Do the arithmetic. This does not call for math. Do the arithmetic. Housing project at Coverley. Drive up the highway and see it. You know, it was not an acquisition. It was given to the developers for $1 over 99 years, sir. You have no moral authority to come in here and talk about change of use and destroying agriculture, unless, of course, you're going to divorce yourself from that place where you forced yourself. No, man, we can't continue like this. But, sir, I acknowledge I didn't hide it. I speak almost every week about agriculture, more than any other Minister of Agriculture has ever done in this country. And I do so because I'm not ashamed of the work we do. And I do so with the reality that we live in a real world. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, sector down. St. Lucia, down. Trinidad and Tobago, struggling. Guyana, that got more resources than us, finding it difficult under climate to keep pace. St. Kitts is now importing its produce from Brazil. Right across CARICOM, I sit on the Ministerial Task Force for Agriculture. I know what is going on. The report for the CARICOM Heads of Government shows that all of the Caribbean region struggling with climate. The climate crisis is real. And we've come in here and tried to be disingenuous with the public of Barbados, pretending that all is well. When you live in the same country where you've had prolonged rainfalls, can't cultivate land, you know where we would be if we had technology-driven agriculture? You think the rain will bother us? The declines we are seeing are because farmers cannot prepare. That's what it is. The declines we are seeing for livestock is because of the challenges with the heat. Sir, these are all known. I don't run away from these things. But if you are going to come here and speak about agriculture in a crisis, and you isolate 1 year where we've had challenges, I got some news for you. In 2023, the agricultural sector had a 24% growth. 2023. And you know, when I sat in the Well of Parliament and gave this information, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition suggested that this work that was produced by the public servants in my ministry was lies. And I said then, I will not participate in anything that would suggest that public servants come here and tell lies. 24% growth in 2023. And you behave as though I am presiding over the worst sector, and that this is the first time we've had problems. Sir, let me inform you, sir. I did a measure of 2008 to 2023 because I believe in using stats. So I did a measure. Sir, in 2008, the sector produced 5.5 billion kilograms. 2008, who was the government then? It wasn't us, but they had 5.5 million kilograms. In 2020, under this administration, we had 30 million kilograms of production. Mr. Speaker, I didn't come here to boast. I feel that I have an obligation to this country to stop the rampant nonsense that takes place in debates and the misleading of this country, to the extent that I'm embarrassed that young people sitting here had to go through a debate where no facts are provided. And you want to come and prosecute someone without even having information, a bundle of generic accusations. I know the honourable member can do better, but he does not prepare before coming here. So he sits down, and whatever you say, he can write. And then he can come with a generic debate. Can't cite anything at all to support what he's saying. Nothing. So I'm going to help you, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, agriculture has always had its ups and downs. Mr. Speaker, if you were to look at the years of agriculture output over the same measuring period I mentioned, 2008 to 2023, was that about 15 years, sir? In 2011, we were not the government. Agriculture declined 25%. Sir, in 2014, we were not the government. Agriculture declined 7%. In 2016, sir, we were not the government. Agriculture declined again, 4%. 2017, sir, we were not the government. Agriculture declined again, 2%. Who is advising the honourable leader of the opposition? Now, if he's being advised by a man that hates me so much, that anything I say or do, he tries to counter, you are getting bad advice. And I wish that you would spend some time, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I urge the honourable member to come here prepared, because he can do better. Mr. Speaker, growth in agriculture, sir. Growth in agriculture, sir. 2015, 3% growth. We weren't the government. 3% growth. 2018, we became the government. 36% growth, sir. 2019, 22% growth, sir. 2020, 11% growth. I mentioned already that in 2023, we had a 24% growth. So what happened in 21 and 22? We were recovering from COVID. And many of our farmers contracted COVID as well. So I cannot associate myself with a debate that seeks to suggest to the public of Barbados that we have had no progress in agriculture, and that land that was subdivided and given change of use in 2016 by the administration that the honourable member leads shall be a subject of critique for this current minister. How can it be? Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, I have been very clear with the public when it comes to agriculture in Barbados. And I am glad that we have young people in the members' gallery, because I know they need to know what is happening. And they equally would join me, I'm sure. They equally would join me when I say to you that we have just placed an order to have 5 freight farms shipped to us so that we can start to transition agriculture from open field, turning of dirt, that young people are not turned on to create agriculture in smaller spaces, sir. At Graham Hall by the ministry, at the BADMC in Fairy Valley, sir. Small systems for the schools, SJPI and BCC. A team coming to Barbados from Netherlands to domicile here, to teach people how to use the technology. Sir, when they did the presentation, you can actually sit in your law firm and control your farm at the side of your house, however it is, through the use of technology, sir. And, Mr. Speaker, this is where the world is. So that if we were to achieve food security in this country, and we dare continue to fool ourselves, and I know this is where I'm hurting most for the leader of the opposition, that he has no clue about what is happening in the sector. No clue. So to come in here and bluff, bluff, bluff. Oh, you're taking land out of agriculture. Oh, you're taking land. You're depriving young people. Now, if he had said you're depriving the older farmers, I would say, okay, some of them may be upset when they hear the talk. Young people, honorable member, do your homework. Young people are not interested in toiling in the sun and the rain. Young people want to go to vertical farming, inner-grow systems, hydroponics and aquaponics. And you know what is baffling about all of this, sir? These things didn't start in 2018. They were there ever since. What happened to the last administration? Why didn't they look and see how the world is changing? That we were entering a climate crisis, sir. And that the money wasted at Andrew's factory, the 24 million through Answer Merchant Bank that was not yet accounted for, sir, that we had to pay off in the IMF program for the last administration, rather than invest in hydroponics and aquaponics so that we can bring in young people to continue feeding us. Because you're not going to get any young person with dung basket and hoe, fork and rake going out in the sun to do agriculture. You hardly see it, sir. Even those who did not do well academically do not even pursue agriculture that way. And worst of all, sir, and the honorable leader of the opposition can agree with me on this, none of his children are agriculture students. None of mine are. None of most Barbadians. We have a dearth of students doing agriculture at the university, sir. Why is that so? Why? Why? Because most people believe that agriculture, perhaps given its history with the sugarcane industry, given its history with how people were forced against their will, tied up, placed on boats, brought here, forced into fields to plant and cut cane, that stigma left a scar on the psyche of Barbadians, the psyche of people in the region, sir. Sir, we just attended a quartet at the Caribbean Week of Agriculture in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We are now looking at how we can find labor, sir, to continue open field agriculture. Nobody is lining up to come. It is not a problem unique to Barbados. This is a global problem, sir. And Mr. Speaker, why did the Netherlands go to such high technology? Why are they now world leaders? Singapore, sir. Why? Because they all see the wisdom. And I come in here every time, and I don't mind agriculture being criticized, because I learn from criticism. I say that over and over and over. But what I cannot tolerate is the generics. There's nothing to learn from that. You don't bring any proof to support what you're saying, sir. And you want this whole country to feel that you're a viable option. Now, if for some reason you want me to come to George Street and help your shadow Minister of Agriculture, who went to the public, a young attorney can do well sticking to law.
Your Honor,
Honourable Member,
I'm not sure that the Honourable Member should now be attacking someone.
What's the point?
It's improper. It's improper.
Honourable Member, what's the point of order?
I'm wondering if...
You can't wonder, Honourable Member.
I can't even address you now.
Honourable Member,
sit down. Who told me sit down? All right, I can sit down.
Honourable Member.
Drag people's name through here.
No, Honourable
Member. I will sit down.
That's not a point of order.
Drag the people's name through here. Treat the people badly.
A young attorney at law, Mr. Speaker, sir, did not engage the stakeholders, you know. When I first became Minister of Agriculture, when we were in opposition, we did something called rubbing shoulders so that you know what is happening and you know what to prepare for. You think I stumble across bringing technology to agriculture? It is from rubbing shoulders. Mr. Speaker, I didn't stumble across introducing bathrooms on the fields for the people who are out in the field all day long. It was from rubbing shoulders. Mr. Speaker, I did not come across bringing resolutions to this chamber to deal with pesticide residue. It was from rubbing shoulders, sir. And you have a shadow that speaks to agriculture in a manner that would suggest to me that none of them do any research. Stop providing water for the farmers. Go and read it in the newspaper. Stop providing water. Stop providing cultivation services. And all that you are doing for the people in the feed program. That's what the opposition is telling this country. And I know you're embarrassed. I know you're embarrassed, Honourable Leader. And I know you to be the man that can take action too, because you did it at George Street. And if she embarrassed you that way, think of what she would do to the country. That is my warning to you. Because I don't know how poor people, Mr. Speaker, poor people that they like to boast about helping are the ones we're helping in the feed program.
On a point of order, sir.
Honourable for Christ yourself.
Maybe is the Honourable Member supposed to disclose the relevance of what he's saying, as you ruled earlier?
Honourable Member.
Am I allowed?
Honourable Member.
Just let's settle one thing, sir.
No, Honourable Member. Honourable Member.
Am I allowed to make points?
No.
Here?
You have a point of order?
Yes, I want a point of order, sir.
Let me hear the point.
Yes, sir. What, you don't want me to talk at all?
Honourable Member, get to the point of order, Honourable Member.
Get into it, sir. You hear this? Tell me sit down.
Honourable Member, if you don't have a point of order,
I have a point of order,
I want to speak to the chair.
Thank you, sir. And the point of order relates to the relevance of what the member is saying about some third party who has...
Relevance? Honourable Member.
You got the ruling,
Can I finish? Honourable Member, you spoke at length for almost 2 hours with an emphasis on agriculture and black belly sheep. That's what you did. So the Honourable for Christ yourself is responding to what you spoke to.
As you please, Your Honour.
Mr. Speaker, sir, we came here to do a housing resolution. It wasn't me that asked to speak on agriculture. I was asked by the Honourable Leader of the Opposition to defend my ministry and to defend the sector. And Mr. Speaker, you know, for all the debates we had, I gave him a break, you know. I gave the Honourable Leader of the Opposition a break by not responding or rising on a point of order. I allow him to speak freely because the public shall judge the leader of the opposition. The public will. They're doing so on social media. And go on social media, Honorable Leader of the Opposition, go. Go and check the records. You are not popular on Facebook. You're not popular in Christchurch South. You're not popular at George Street.
Honorable member for Christchurch South, what is your point of order? Honorable member, what's your point of order?
Your Honor, what is the relevance? What is the relevance of the
Honorable
last?
member,
I am rising, sir, on a matter of relevance of his popularity on Facebook to this debate. He says he is extreme. He's the most popular man in the world on Facebook.
Honorable member,
How is that relevant to the debate, sir?
Honorable member.
Please control him, sir.
Honorable member, have your seat, please. Take a seat, honorable member.
He is Mark Zuckerberg now.
Honorable member, please take your seat, honorable member.
The Honorable Mark Zuckerberg.
Mr. Speaker, I didn't think that I would live to see the day where the Honorable Leader of the Opposition will stand up and ask you to beg for mercy for him. Mr. Speaker, sir, it shouldn't be me doing this to him. It shouldn't be. But he set up himself for what he's receiving, sir. And Mr. Speaker, I really and truly am tired of coming to this honorable chamber to have to put up with a whole lot of time wasting, responding to a size, not having any information to share, so wasting time over what people say on the side. Repeating yourself, Mr. Speaker, sir. Repeating the same thing, Mr. Speaker. We left a debate in here and break for lunch. And everything that the Honorable Leader of the Opposition said the morning came back after lunch and said for another 2 hours. Mr. Speaker, it is called abuse of parliamentary privilege, sir. And frankly, it rapes my ears. Ministry of Agriculture every time. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Agriculture restructured the sugar industry in 2023, saving government $30 million a year. Do you know that the Democratic Labour Party government tried to restructure the sugar industry and wanted to spend $1 billion? Oh, shame. Do you know that there's a company that was set up in St. Lucia called Into Sugar Partnerships that took down all of Andrew's factory, and we don't know what it did with the metal from the factory, sir? Under the Democratic Labour Party government. Mr. Speaker, borrowed, spent $200 million, sir. And you come in here making noise about $200 million, Mr. Speaker, not accounted for. Money, molasses tanks in the harbor. This government had to pay for them under the IMF program and criticizing the IMF program. Without the IMF program, how we got out to that debt? Shame. Molasses tanks under the last DLP administration. And we transitioned the industry where poor people will own it now. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Leader of the Opposition spoke about sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes had its highest performance in 2020. Highest. Wait. Mr. Speaker, I want to make this a document of the House so that the next time the Honorable Leader of the Opposition comes to speak, he would have this information before him. He can get it, Mr. Speaker. So I'm going to make this a document of the House. Mr. Speaker.
What is the document, honorable member?
The document is Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Nutritional Security works for
Continue.
growth. Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition spoke about sweet potato.
Your Honor, I believe you asked the Honourable Member to give authority to the document.
Yes, I did. I guess I did.
Yes, and he is refusing to admit that he wrote it. It cannot be a document of authority.
Mr. Speaker, I said from the beginning, not only in this presentation, but from the well of the House, that this document was produced by public servants in the Ministry of Agriculture.
And, Your Honor, may, sir,
yes.
Point of order. I don't know that the Honourable Member can properly produce a document, the authorship of which he takes responsibility. It is not a document rooted in any authority separate from that of the Honourable Member. The Honourable Member cannot quote himself.
Honourable Member, that is the document written by the public service, Honourable Member. Public service, he said, of the ministry.
Mr. Speaker, sir, this is now the second time that the Honourable Leader of the Opposition tried to discredit the work of the hard-working public servants of Barbados. And I want them to take note. I want them to take note of what is being presented to them. Mr. Speaker, getting back to my point, sweet potato decline. People can't get sweet potato. Well, sweet potato is available in Barbados, it's not in glut, but it is available. So to say people can't get sweet potato again is to mislead the House. But we recognize that sweet potato is having a challenge. And the government just agreed at Cabinet last week, Thursday at Cabinet, to build out a tissue culture facility. We've spoken about it before. Cabinet approved the funding for it. And the developers are here, Mr. Speaker, so that we would then produce clean planting material for all the farmers in Barbados, and we would get back growth in production in sweet potato. Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, as I said, has a fetish for black-belly sheep. Mr. Speaker, we know that he knows where to find black-belly sheep. So he shouldn't feel too deprived that 1,000 went down to Guyana. When in truth, in fact, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition owned blood, owns 4,000, 5,000. Owns his own blood. Mr. Speaker, compare 1,000 to 5,000 in the ownership of one man. Mr. Speaker, this Honourable Chamber, under the last administration, heard a lot of talk about sanitary and phytosanitary measures. Nothing done for 10 years. I, Mr. Speaker, passed legislation in this Parliament to deal with sanitary and phytosanitary measures. Mr. Speaker, Tree Houses Spring Act. Tree houses, poor people farming at tree houses. And we are led to believe that the presentations in here from the Honourable Leader of the Opposition comes with some kind of care as this noble soul who wants to rescue poor people. And Mr. Speaker, tree houses spring, for 10 years farmers complaining all in the newspaper. Downstream can't get water, water being blocked. And we went there and put in a reservoir so that farmers downstream don't complain anymore. You know what the farmers downstream complain about now? They got too much produce. Downstream. You see a fella in the Daily talking about he got cucumbers that he can't sell. You ain't hearing people complain that they can't produce anything anymore, sir. Mr. Speaker, that Three Houses Spring Act was so old, since 1713. If the Democratic Labour Party administration cared about agriculture, they would have addressed it. Don't come in here and make nobody believe that you care about agriculture. You don't. You don't even care about poor people. And Mr. Speaker, I urge the Honourable Leader of the Opposition and his team to take a drive, engage the stakeholders first, and then come in here and speak. I don't think that everything is perfect under my stewardship. As a matter of fact, sometimes I sit down and I marvel at the criticism I get because I learn so many things as well. And not everybody that criticizes agriculture is motivated by the machinations of the Democratic Labour Party either. There are some people who genuinely want to see agriculture continue to strive in this country. So that, Mr. Speaker, I believe that I have given the Honourable Leader of the Opposition a lesson in what agriculture truly is in Barbados. He has my number, Mr. Speaker, sir. I have shared my number publicly, right? Or, Mr. Speaker, he's saying he deleted me. Yeah, he blocked me. So he doesn't want to learn. So, Mr. Speaker, I am proud to state that whilst we have had our challenges in 2024, measures already being put in place to address those challenges, and you will see a return to growth in the agricultural sector in the year coming. I'm obliged to you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker,
Honourable St. Joseph.
I beg to move that the House. You want to wrap it? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you.
Honourable St. George South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to respond and to wrap up the debate. And the honourable member for Christchurch South, he spoke probably for 3 hours. And Mr. Speaker, I don't think the chamber or the people of this country is more well informed than my 5-minute presentation. But he can. I came to this chamber in 2013 and I spoke right just behind where you sat. And I spoke through all the assizes. And I will continue to, because I understand I'm focused on delivery and not on the assizes. But Mr. Speaker, this government came to office, well, returned to office after 30-0 victory in the 2018 election, the 2022 election, and we announced a housing revolution, not because we, out of pull anything from the pie in the sky to say we want to build 10,000 houses. It was a target based on the number of applicants at the National Housing Corporation requesting housing. You had over 18,000 applicants. You have, not had, you have over 18,000 applicants. The poor people you are speaking about, paying rents, astronomical prices, living in 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom homes across the length and breadth of this country, being exploited, persons working for $2,500 and paying $1,500 and $1,400 in rent. And the member for St. Philip South mentioned it. We rubbed shoulders and we knew what were the challenges in housing in this country, similar to how we knew what were the challenges in agriculture in this country, similar to how we knew what were the challenges in energy in this country. You want to talk about corruption? I have a list here for you. You talk about the most corrupt government. I don't want straight because I said I am going to end off in 15 minutes, but I will speak to you on corruption because you are now presiding over the most corrupt administration ever in the history of governance in this country. You presiding over it. And you sitting down talking about corruption. I can list all of them for you in 2 minutes. The member for St. Philip South listed the first. He stole my thunder, the 100 acres of land at $1. And that's my friend, Batman and Robin. You can steal my thunder anytime. 99 years. But Mr. Speaker, 18,000 applicants. And this member saw it fit. I took a few notes. He said, the answer can tell you we are raising war on agriculture to provide housing for poor people. We are raising war on agriculture to provide housing for poor people. We are providing housing for poor people as well as supporting the agricultural sector. Only in December, 2 weeks before Christmas, we went to Clifton, where you grew up, my friend. 12 houses. And you talk about poor people? 2 rent-to-own. That's the only way poor people can own housing in this country, through a rent-to-own policy, through capping the price of land and infrastructure. That's what this government is all about. Ensuring that we create the policy, the environment that we can indeed build up the housing sector at affordable prices and resilient. That's what we are doing as a result of climate change, the same climate crisis that you speak about. And you come in here to mention about we are waging war on agriculture to provide housing for poor people. Now, let me tell you something. You are an avid reader. John F. Kennedy said that housing is the most central coordinating unit in any society. It is where you educate, it is where you pay taxes, it is where you vote. And if you think that this government is monofocused only on
Yes, on a point of order, you may wish to ask the honourable member to address you, sir, and stop addressing me. Please do.
I remember, I don't want to say that I'm amazed, but you continuously, having, as you said, being so familiar with these standing orders, then it means if you know the standing orders so well and that you continue blatantly to attempt to breach them, that you will be continuously in breach of these standing orders. Because I became nauseous then to having to continue to ask you to speak to the chair rather than to the members on that side. So you're actually now, having learned that you want that to be done, I will do so. I will adhere to your request.
I'm obliged to you, sir.
I will adhere to your request, hoping that whenever you speak in this chamber, that you don't ever breach that rule.
Much obliged, sir.
Continue, Honourable George South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wouldn't be sidetracked. I'm focused on wrapping up this debate with facts, Mr. Speaker. The honourable member sought to tell the chamber and those listening that this government is taking agricultural land and putting into housing. The honourable member from St. Philip South clarified a number of things. But I heard the member for St. Michael Southeast. She told you,
yes,
Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honourable member for Christ yourself. I'm listening. I'm listening.
I wish you, sir,
yes,
to invite the honourable member.
Yes?
I can't talk here.
No, I want to hear the point.
I wish you, sir.
Yes?
Young man, let me speak.
Honourable Member for Christchurch, so please,
Your
please,
Honor, you
have risen on a point of order?
Yes, Your
What is
Honor.
the point of order?
Your Honor, just invited the honourable member who is addressing you to address you and stop addressing me.
But he's speaking of you addressing me. He can do that.
No, he's saying you.
No, he did not. He's always.
I'm obliged to
He
you,
never
sir.
refers to you as you. He always said the honourable member. So he's actually giving what you deserve, the honourable member.
Listen carefully, sir.
Yes, I am.
You know, I would love to speak for 2 hours, just like him, but with facts, not repeating the same thing over and over. Mr. Speaker, the honourable member sought to misinform the public and misrepresent the agenda of this government as it relates to housing and education. And the facts are here, Mr. Speaker. The Democratic Labour Party, he's talking about schools and how we are refusing to build schools and we are going to build housing. But we have just acquired land, acquired this old St. Ursula Convent, Charleston Park for 2 schools. But we saw it fit that the area we have acquired the land in Searles will be better suited for housing. And if you're telling us that we are executing a political agenda, it is the civil servants within the Ministry of Housing, Lands and Maintenance, Town Planning and Development, who travel around this country and identify lands that are suitable for housing. None of the political operatives, including yourself, never did it.
Your Honor, you heard him. Why doesn't he stop addressing me? People such as yourself and you. Please ask him to address you, sir. I feel assaulted by him.
No, I think you're famous, honourable member. I think he's giving you
ask him to
credit.
address it.
Making reference to you probably is making you rather
But
famous.
he's saying people like yourself.
I'm very sorry. I will ensure, honourable member, that you are accorded your title. Rather, right. Honourable for St. George South, please, honourable member for St. George South, please refer to the leader of the opposition as the honourable member for Christchurch. So please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would, out of respect for him, and I have respect for him. Honourable member for Christchurch South knows that. But I am letting him know, through you, Mr. Speaker, that the Democratic Labour Party, if you want to talk about schools, they said they will rebuild Wilkie Cumberbatch. Never did. We had to do the renovations at that school. Alma Paris was closed under the Democratic Labour Party. We renovated and we are about to open Alma Paris. You have no moral authority to come into this chamber, Mr. Speaker. The member for Christchurch South has no moral authority to come into this chamber to criticize this administration on not providing for our young children as it relates to education and schools. Mr. Speaker, I go further. The honourable member for Christchurch South, I have been Minister of Housing since 2022. Mr. Speaker, the honourable member for Christchurch South has never approached me, Mr. Speaker, to inquire about housing for the constituency of Christchurch South. He has never, Mr. Speaker. He has never. Every single member. We had 30, all 29, Mr. Speaker. They bombard me. The member for St. Michael North, he can tell you. St. Michael East, Well, the member for St. Andrew, he lives in the Ministry of Housing now too. The member for St. Philip West, St. Joseph, St. Thomas. So I don't understand how the member can allow this to come from his lips that we're waging a war on agriculture to provide housing for poor people. Oh my Lord. Oh my Lord.
Your Honor.
We will see that.
Your
Me,
Honor,
Mr. Speaker.
Your Honor, on a point of order, he's misleading you, sir. I did not say that. I did not say that. I did not say that. Let them protest. I did not say that. I just want that on the record.
Continue,
I spoke of political objectives. I said that the housing is not affordable by poor people.
Continue, member.
Mr. Speaker, I boldly say this in this chamber. The member for Christchurch South has no authority, professionally, morally, to tell this government where housing should be built. He's no planner, he's no engineer. I don't know who's advising the honourable member for Christchurch South. He is a neophyte, he is a beginner, he's a novice as it relates to housing. I don't understand. This member spent 3 hours repeating the same thing over and over. Let's go to Bullins. The honourable member, first he came to this chamber and he said we were acquiring the lands at Bullins. Clearly, we had acquired the lands eons. And he said again today, the honourable member for Christchurch South said again today in this chamber that we acquired the lands at Bullins in November or December 2024. The land was acquired a year before that, Mr. Speaker. We vested the lands in the National Housing Corporation, the same thing we are doing now with Searles. It is part of our plan to build out the housing sector, affordable and resilient housing. How else can we do it? Tell me, any one of you in this chamber, tell me, where will you build housing in this country with 18,000 applications? Most of them are poor people. Tell me, where are you going to build them? And if the Democratic Labour Party, Mr. Speaker, has a plan, I will resign tomorrow and tell the people of St. George South that the Democratic Labour Party has a macro plan and a micro plan how to provide 18,000 houses in this country for the poor people of this country. I will resign tomorrow, and I boldly say that. You come to this, the honourable member for Christchurch South comes to this chamber week after week, without a note, without preparing for debates. He gets up with a lot of rhetoric, repetition. Every week, unfairing the people of this country, taxpayers. As an opposition, we were an opposition. We were an opposition. We provided solutions. We didn't only criticize. We rubbed shoulders and we came into this chamber and researched. I recall shadowing energy, health, public works, going to bed 2 a.m. to come to this parliament to debate the form of government. And the member for St. James Central, he was there with me. St. Michael East, he was there with me. The member for St. Thomas, she was there with me. The member for St. Joseph, he was there with me. We researched, we spent time, did investigation, asked questions. We didn't just walk in like how you walk in like a psycho boy. Because you have a degree in law and you have been practicing and you believe that you know everything. Honourable
member for St. George, so please be fair.
Control him. He's getting very member.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
He's an emotional
man.
My
apologies, Mr. Speaker. My apologies. My apologies, Mr. Speaker.
You need to.
And I am not too big to apologize. He never did, but I will. because I'm a man and I apologize. A neophyte in housing and in agriculture. A Lilliputian, the member for Christchurch South, and he comes here, he wants to announce policy with nothing at all he has brought to the table today on housing to say to the people of this country, what should we do as an alternative to what was put forward by the government, the member for Christchurch South. He has not. Then he came, he went to Bullins. Mr. Speaker, the member for Christchurch South went to Bullins. He claimed, the member claimed, there were no houses there. Remember, a meme is going around, Mr. Speaker, across Barbados. He's the member for Christchurch South is the laughing stock. In the last debate we had on housing, the member for Christchurch South is the laughing stock. When the member for Christchurch South said, wait, houses down there? I ain't no houses down there. 28 houses, Mr. Speaker, have been constructed. Mr. Speaker, you have 68 families in Lancaster, Mr. Speaker. 148 houses. And they all will be finished and occupied before the end of the financial year, Mr. Speaker. I don't know where the member for Christchurch South gets his information from. Who's the shadow minister for housing, Mr. Speaker? I asked you, but I shouldn't be asking you that. I don't even know who is the shadow minister for housing. You have no moral authority, Mr. Speaker. The member for Christchurch South has no moral authority or professional authority to come in here to speak, Mr. Speaker, on housing policy. Go and do some research, Mr. Speaker. The member for Christchurch South has to do his research first and then come back to this parliament to speak on housing policy, Mr. Speaker. Then he speaks to $60 million, Mr. Speaker, the member for Christchurch South at Lancaster. No, I'm not going to spend any time on Hope and Lancaster, Mr. Speaker. An investigation has been launched. The Auditor General is doing his work, Mr. Speaker, and I'm leaving that there. And I'm leaving that there. The honourable member for Christchurch South seems to know more than we know, and it is not factual, Mr. Speaker. That's all I have to say on that. People living in there. But, Mr. Speaker, I'm going to wrap up. But I want to wrap up on this note, Mr. Speaker. You know, when you speak about this administration, you can't speak about corruption. When you speak about corruption, I rose this morning on the point of order, Mr. Speaker, when I heard that word corruption. Because, Mr. Speaker, in just 1 minute, Mr. Speaker, I jotted down several matters, Mr. Speaker, that the member for Christchurch South, the administration that the member for Christchurch South presides over, and the advisor to the member for Christchurch South, a former prime minister, presided as prime minister on a number of these matters that I jotted down. The sewage system, sewage running in the streets. My good friend from St. James Central used a word that I wouldn't use here, is probably unparliamentary.
Correct, it is.
Excrement. The Cahill project. Mr. Speaker, you want to talk about corruption? Let's talk about the Cahill project. I shadowed energy, you know. The member for Christchurch East as well, the two of us, we know what was happening. That is corruption. Pickering, 3 times Pickering in St. Lucie was launched. Mr. Speaker, 3 times they broke ground at Pickering in St. Lucie, the last administration. Let's talk. The St. Joseph Hospital, Mr. Speaker. You want to talk about corruption? Let's talk. The Clico lands, Mr. Speaker. All the BMWs X5 that were driven about that they had to hide, Mr. Speaker. The member for Christchurch South, the advisor to the member for Christchurch South presided over that. So we think he's going to advise the member for Christchurch South? Mr. Speaker, I ain't finished yet.
Honourable member for Christchurch South.
Your Honor, on a point of order.
Yes, please.
Relevance, Your Honor. Relevance. Relevance, Your Honor. Relevance, Your Honor.
No point of order. Honourable member for St. George South, please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the member for Christchurch South asked the member for St. Philip South to respond to him. And the member for St. Philip South responded adequately. The member for Christchurch South accused this government of corruption this morning, Mr. Speaker. And that is why I'm so antsy, Mr. Speaker. I'm not part of anything corrupt. The 6-story building at Vaucluse, Mr. Speaker. The Water Authority building. The member for Christchurch South does not want that building to be discussed at the PSC, Public Accounts Committee. He wants only to discuss hope. That's what he wants to discuss. But we have Transport Board to discuss. We ain't finished with housing yet, Mr. Speaker. And Water Authority, Mr. Speaker, you remember the BWA contracts and the Auditor General report where the fittings, Mr. Speaker, and all of the pipes were never delivered, Mr. Speaker?
On a point of order, sir.
Honourable member for Christchurch South.
The honourable member is misleading the House in telling this House and this country that an investigation has been commenced into hope. That is not true. And if he can't say that boldly, he has to tell this chamber who has commenced that investigation. As far as I'm aware, no investigation has been commenced into hope. But the honourable member is coming here today and telling this country that an investigation has commenced without giving details as to who has commenced that investigation. That's why I'm saying, Your Honour, he's misleading the House. Thank you, sir.
Continue,
Mr.
Honourable
Speaker,
members.
I am on corruption. I am on corruption. The BWA contracts, Mr. Speaker. Go back to the Auditor General's report and you will see it. Let's talk about the high cost of Grotto and Valerie, Mr. Speaker. You want to talk about housing? Oh, my Lord, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the advisor to the member for Christchurch South was the leader of the then government, Mr. Speaker. The people of this country, they know that this government will save them from the hands of corruption. And you have and the member for Christchurch South has the audacity to come to this chamber to accuse this government of corruption. He did. The member for Christchurch South did. But Mr. Speaker, you know, there will be many more debates on housing, Mr. Speaker. There will be many more debates on housing as we seek to build out the housing sector and as we seek to provide affordable and resilient housing for the 8,000 applicants that we have at NHC. And while 18,000 applicants we have at NHC, and while the member for Christchurch South is fixated on hope, the member for Christchurch South is hopeless. But let the member for Christchurch South, in a few months, he will see that all the criticism he's levying at hope, and like I said, I'm in the present looking to the future, seeking to build a better Barbados for the people. I'm not looking in the past. We have corrected some of most of our challenges, and we are working on them. And I guarantee you, Mr. Speaker, the same way the homeowners at Lancaster came to the public without intervention from this government and said to the media, we are happy to own a home at Christmas. I guarantee you, we are hoping that within a 2-3 year period, there'll be over 6,000 or 7,000 more of those homeowners, ordinary Barbadians, owning their homes and leaving a piece of their rock for their children and their grandchildren. And this country will become a better place when people have control over assets that they can leverage to educate, they can leverage to acquire another asset. I visited Cape Coast in my little holiday. Cape Coast, the castle. I have pictures I can share with you. You blocked me. The member for Christchurch, so if you blocked me too, that's all right. Yes, I know you blocked me. We were once friends, the member for Christchurch, so we were once friends. Yeah, I know you blocked me too. But when I visited the castle, and I saw where we, our ancestors, were enslaved, the women and the men, and what they went through, how they were shipped, where the vessels came and took them and bring them to the Caribbean territory. I know that we are a resilient people. And Mr. Speaker, I will continue to press on as a resilient member of Parliament and minister to provide affordable housing for the people of this country. And with those words, Mr. Speaker, I beg that this resolution now pass.
The question is that this resolution do now pass. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it. This resolution stands passed. Honourable Leader of Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the House be suspended until 3:25 p.m.
The question is that this honourable chamber be suspended until 3:25 p.m. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it. This honourable chamber stands suspended until 3:25 p.m.